and welcome back to another season of Blue Otter League. We're moving into the Platinum League, and today we've got TPO Goblins now in the blue versus Monkeys, specifically Monkeys Cyborg, so double S on each of those sides, but they've taken up the red side, Chung.
Yeah, and you also forgot an important part of the TPO name. They are the TPO Mind Goblins. So if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you feel left out. But these are some interesting bans coming into game number one, especially with the Hecarim ban. Like, Amumu makes a lot of sense. I'm looking at Mohawk's champion pool for solo queue. He's played 200 games of Amumu. Banned away. Makes sense. Next champion, they're banning away the Hecarim. He is their highest ranked player, but I don't necessarily think he has been the best performing players so far this season. But that being said, both of these teams are really struggling. The side of Monkey Cyborgs hasn't gotten a series win yet, while TPO Goblin were able to get their first one last week while Monkey Cyborg was on the bye, with this being week 4. But both these teams really need to start getting into form and then be able to make that late season playoff push if they want to continue here in the Platinum Division.
We are starting off strong, though. It looks like first pick is going to be Caitlyn, which many argue right now is one of the strongest ADCs just kind of in the game general. They just have a lot of versatility, and they've hit a lot of buffs just for frequently. So I do like this as a T1 pick. There are counters to it, and there are ways to play around it. But most of the time, the way to play around it is to just sort of send everything bot because Caitlyn can be so game warping, Jung.
Yeah, and we see the Ashe as immediate response into it. A lot of people like this because Ashe can actually be somewhat effective into Caitlyn in the early lane, especially if you are able to hit that volley, kind of just chase her down. The one champion I would like to see Monkey Cyborgs go with here is that Milio pairing for this Ashe. I think that is the most suppressive bottom lane that we have in League of Legends right now. You can't get away from the Ashe because she's getting sped up by this Milio through his shields, has increased range with his W, with the Milio W coming in, and then she's just autoing you down. Yes, she doesn't do that necessarily late game super scaling crit marksman that you expect, but if Ashe gets in a good position, she can carry games. So really curious to see what the pairings for these early AD picks are. Traditionally with Caitlyn, you are looking for these more ranged, AP-focused, poke-heavy champions, the likes of Karmas. You can even go Bard with it. You can go, Nico, who is extremely strong, one of the best AP champions in the game right now. But looks like both sides are electing to go with jungle picks if this Jax truly is in the jungle, or if it's a flex pick up there for Islamic Samurai and for, I forget who the jungler is.
It sounds like we're
Okay.
getting... go ahead.
I don't like that switch. We're getting word from our producer Loki, whose organization is actually playing here tonight with TPO Mind Goblin, that Killer Fox, the normal support for this team, is playing top lane, while the top laner on roster, Islamic Samurai, is playing bot lane. I didn't have high hopes for this team coming into the season, if I'm being honest. You have Killer Fox, who had an okay season last split. You're bringing in Colonel, who's going to be new to the Platinum scene. He was gold most of all last season. Dark Frenzy had ups and downs last split. Hug Life, I don't know much about, but Islamic Samurai is a support name, so I didn't like him switching up the top lane. And if you look at his solo queue, it is not pretty. He has played about 600 games, 700 games, and he's silver 2. So he is just hard locked as a top laner. And I think there are some pretty decent tops here in Platinum. So curious to see if this switch is going to give some spark of light to the side of Monkey Cyborgs, or if TPO is going to continue with the momentum they had last week, picking up their first win, be able to do it again here this week.
Absolutely. With that being said, we've got our last couple of picks locked in. It's going to be double support. So, so far we've got ADCs, what's potentially, the jungles for each side, the Zen, and maybe the Jax, unless, like you said, he's that flex top, and then immediately into Thresh and Nautilus. So double hook champion. The primary difference being is we have the really powerful Lantern on the side of Thresh. So we've got that utility, we've got that versatility in order to play around with. Thresh is a little bit on the weaker end when it comes to some of the supports. There's just people that do things a little bit better, other than maybe the Lantern pull itself. He's still a very strong champion just because of the kit, but I just think people ellipse him just a little bit. And someone like Nautilus is a tiny bit easier to get value out of, Chong.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this Thresh pick. The support Shinobi doesn't play a lot of it. And also, this is a good interaction lane for Nautilus. If you just hold your hook until Thresh hooks, you just get a huge trade onto this Thresh, and he really can't do anything back into you. But Also, Nautilus, I think, is just the better hook support in the game right now. Like, yes, you have the Lantern on the side of Thresh, but if you're not hitting your death sentences, you're useless. While Nautilus still has his passive to root people and also still has that depth charge for a more ranged engage. So I just like that more as a pick, especially pairing it up with the likes of Ashe. This Caitlyn is going to need to run cleanse this game if she just does not want to be hunted down on cooldown when those bot lane ultimates do come off. But looking at these bans, some top lane focus, and then the strange brand ban, which Colonel does play a lot of, but they're just going to elect to go with the Ari, so kind of playing more of a pick comp here on the side of Monkey Cyborgs. While TPO Mind Goblin can still go poke, they can still go traditional team fight with the draft that they do have, but Darius being banned and Garen being banned, they don't want to see a strong enemy side split push top laner for the side of Monkey Cyborgs because they are trying to look to team fight with this comp. And an easy way to beat team fight is either you run a poke composition or you run heavy split push compositions.
And our answer, at least that we're hovering so far, is going to be Aurelion Soul. So scaling versus escapability. I think this could still go either way. Aurelion Soul is a little bit weaker, just kind of overall, except for the infinite scaling, which is, always pretty decent. Ari is a much better sort of all-arounder, at least when it comes to just everything that they can do. They're not necessarily an artillery mage. A lot to watch out for. Aurelion Soul can go directly into a charm, which can be the scariest thing. But if you bait out the charm, then it's less something to worry about, Chong.
Yeah, and ESOL was buffed today itself. A lot of rune changes coming out specifically with the nerfs to the phase rush and buffs to like Legend Tenacity, Legend Bloodline. Biscuits getting a big change as well. But ASOL is just getting a flat numbers increase on his Q. It has more burst potential on it now. And I think ASOL can be a good pick into this comp that Monkey Cyborgs has because he has a deceptively weird hitbox with kind of like the chibi style body that his model is, where he has a big head and a small body. So sometimes it's very hard to hit him with CC if you're not like actually know what his actual hitbox is. But then the Scion comes in that gives you the front line you need for TPO Mind Goblins, gives you some form of engage if you are able to hit that unstoppable onslaught. But the answer, the R5, is the Gwen into that pick. So really curious to see what Killer Fox can do in a top lane scenario. It's so different than playing support. I don't know how long they've been practicing this, but we'll have to see if it's able to work out here for Monkey Cyborgs.
Absolutely. And the pickup here for Gwen, keep in mind, this is also another really great flex pick. So either one of these could still go either direction. I think Gwen is both very powerful in both the top lane and in the jungle, kind of for slightly different reasons to watch out for. So we'll have to hone in and figure out specifically where they're going. And I don't necessarily mind this. I would rather see the Jax in the top lane in order to deal with maybe the Scion, but Gwen's not a bad answer one way or another.
I think I favor the Gwen just slightly more in the Scion just because of the needlework doing so much damage to these full tanks. But like you said, can go either way. I think the Gwen jungle is a little bit weaker than the Jax jungle. But if that's what your team feels comfortable with, I always say in Platinum Division that comfort can outbeat your like team identity. Like if you're comfortable on the champion and it's not the best champion, it can still be the best choice for your team if that's what you've been practicing and that's what you feel confident on. Like we're seeing the ASOL come out here in the first game in Thresh, two champions that are considered to be relatively weak in their respective roles, but it seems like the side of TPO Mind Goblin is feeling confident on these champions. So we'll have to see if they're actually able to get some value or if the slightly more advantageous early game of Monkey Cyborgs is able to just kind of steamroll this game and really never let Scion and Aurelion Soul get online.
And looking at the teams too, I'm thinking Monkeys really wants to get their hands on these Void Grubs just purely to deny it from TPO Mind Goblins because we have Caitlyn who's got great wave clear, and once they get in there, they can siege really, really well just because of the range. And then of course we've got Scion who is just absolutely devastating, especially if he's got his hands on all three Void Grubs. And Scion, I don't think he's been touched too much in this upcoming patch or this previous patch, but even if he has, I can't imagine it's too much. One way or another. And Scion is in such a great spot to where even if he gets shut down, even if he struggles the entire game, he seems to have a solid performance. Basically, unless you just disconnect your router, you beat him, he still takes out your tower. You absolutely decimate him, you take out his tower, then he's ulting you all the way from mid lane or from bot lane, clearing these objectives, and then he just continues to get beefier and beefier and stronger. So I think watching teams having to sort of deal with that really make or break the top lane, and I think the positioning is going to be the most important for both that Caitlyn and that Scion, because Scion is such a great sort of pincer move, a hammer and anvil to play off, or they can act quite nicely as sort of a walking, moving ward, providing space for their team before objectives.
Yeah, we'll have to see when it comes down to these objective fights. I like you mentioned, Void Grubs are kind of great for both team, respectively. Caitlyn Scion on the side of TPO, while Gwen with Void Grubs can be an absolute menace in the side lane. But we've seen the priority at Worlds. I'm going to use, even though we're not professional players here, the priority on Dragons seems to be what wins games most of the time. So we'll see how much these teams want to index into these Void Grubs, or if they're going to look for early Dragon stacking. But I think with that, this is a great point for us to send it to a break as we wait for the teams to finish up that incline drafting and the spectator delay. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back shortly.
Thank you so much, everybody, for being patient as we roll into game number 1. Finally, after at least a little bit of delay, keep in mind, TPO Mind Goblins are going to be on the blue side, and of course, Monkey Cyborgs are going to be on the right hand, the red side. Starting off, I don't expect anything real crazy. We do have Hook Champions, we do have Nautilus, but still, the Invade really doesn't do too much unless you get super lucky or super unlucky.
Yeah, and in this game we have no flash on Killer Fox up in the top lane. OG Kyria Z has actually not gone for cleanse. He's just going for that barrier. So really got to be reliant on those Thresh Lanterns to bail you out from those ECAs that are going to fly out from Dark Frenzy when he does hit level 6. But I mean, overall, everything's pretty standard. You got Exhaust for Ignite in the bot lane. Exhaust makes a lot of sense for T-Girl top to actually take in this game just because of the dive threat of both the Gwen and the Jax. While OG on the Caitlyn has gone for the first strike, so just trying to get a lane advantage and build that into something for himself. While everything else in this game is pretty standard, except for Colonel going airy. Not the biggest fan of it personally.
Either way, we do have the game up and going, already starting off. I don't expect too much to happen. These lanes aren't particularly volatile unless, like you said, bot lane is able to get something in that exhaust can turn into a kill, but so can the ignite. I think both sides are going to spend plenty of time just trying to just trying to feel each other out, especially with the interaction that you were talking about before. Islamic Samurai is probably going to be looking for the hook of Thresh to just immediately follow up with one of his own, so it kind of cancels it out in a couple of ways if, of course, Dark Frenzy does not get caught. Oh, with the exhaust coming in. T-Girl top, able to get at least some damage, but the ignite comes down on top of Jhin, having to back off, going down about half HP, but that's going to be an important tool out of the shed for Islamic, but I think the goal was to capitalize on the T2, or sorry, the level 2.
Oh, Islamic misses the hook.
Hook coming in.
Yeah.
A little bit of a trade back and forward. Caitlyn not able to have quite the dominant appearance that I normally expect them to see, and I think that's kind of owed to the Thresh pick, not necessarily the player, but the pick itself. I just think the pressure's really not there into someone like Nautilus. Even if you had someone like Lulu could still do an insane amount of poking and trading back and forward into Dark Frenzy, giving that impression. Or, like you said, Nico was on the table. We could have gotten a Nico here with Caitlyn. Caitlyn is very powerful because of just the sheer amount of insane poke that just never lets up, and it's good even into Nautilus.
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of view Thresh similarly to how I view Alistair in the early game, where you're kind of a nothing champ through the first couple levels, but once you hit that level 3, you really do come online with access to all those basic abilities. So really do like it, but right now it's just full pressure in this bot lane for the side of Monkey Cyborgs. And now here on the minimap, we can see that Mohawk is just going to go for that Scuttle Crab. A nice ward there by Killer Fox to get information on where this jungler is pathing right now. So knows he's just got to play a little bit safe up here in the top lane.
Absolutely. And still continuing a bit of trading back and forward. Caitlyn really not having, like I said before, the commanding presence that I expected. So that's a little surprising to me. Top lane hasn't really turned into too much. It looks like Ahri has traded quite well into their lane opponent, Aurelion Soul, taking quite the pounding in mid lane. But that's nothing too surprising because, of course, he wants to get the scaling. It looks like we're going to start a little bit of engagement as top does take a good chunk of damage. Here comes the hook in right there at the end as we're just 1 or 2 AAs away from Thresh. Thresh really taking, quite the hammering.
Yeah, and I mean, Dark Frenzy could have had first blood there, just canceled 2 auto attacks, but now Killer Fox is ghosting up in the top lane, looking for that solo kill onto Indigo. He's going to get the snip out, but just not there yet. Level 5 to level 4 just do not have the damage to get it done there in the top lane for first blood. But now T-Girl top, she's going to have to play super safe down here in the spot lane with no flash and still no exhaust, while Dark Frenzy and Islamic just have full prior down here in this bottom lane. But we can see now Mohawk is on his Krugs, could look to come here and try to bail out his bot lane, but will be started when he does walk that way. And you can see here, Monkey Cyborg is just playing it real smart, backing off and just letting the wave reset. As I'm not going to say the name, Jim Halpert got an early reset and got those faded ashes and is now back in the mid lane.
still continuing the trading, but what has been nice in the bot lane is we're sitting at 42 CS to 38. So despite the pressure, despite the advantage that I think they've had sort of in this early game with their poke, Caitlyn has not only kept up with the CS, but stayed up on top of it, which is going to show the power of Caitlyn just sort of overall. But I do like this. I really don't expect anything too pertinent. We do have a Drake up and going. It's hitting at the 5-minute mark, so getting close to about the 6-minute mark. We're also going to be getting close to hopefully a couple of rotations, at least for the Void Grubs, because these Void Grubs are going to be so important for a million different reasons, and both sides are really going to want to get their hands on it.
Yeah, and I'm kind of surprised to see Kira going with the biscuits in this game. They did just get nerfed today, where they provide less healing now because they lowered the percent healthage increase that the healing does get. So like champion, like AD carry champions don't really benefit from running these biscuits anymore because they just don't have as large of an HP pool as somebody else. Like for example, for some reason, if Indigo went biscuits up in the top lane in this matchup, which he didn't, it would be very good for this Scion. But right now, you can see Hug Life clearing out some vision down here on the bot side. Potential look at the dragon as Killer Fox is going to kill this pink ward. There's a ward in the dragon pit, so information will be there for the side of TPO Mind Goblin if it is started up. But right now, the side of Monkeys is just playing it slow, but playing it calm, cool, and collected, not trying to get themselves in a deficit in this early game as Hug Life's back bottom lane.
We do take a little bit of tapping as a flash comes in. Jax does get a double stun that's pretty nice, and then followed into a massive root. This Caitlyn should be down as Ashe picks up a kill now sitting in the bot lane. Hug Life having quite the great, gank there with that one. And most importantly, giving it over to Ashe. Ashe is going to need that into the Caitlyn for all those different reasons, but it's a lot of back and forward, and this gives a lot of decent pressure now in order to take this Drake. But it looks like Mohawk is waiting in the bushes, waiting to maybe try to go for a steal. Gwen?
Indigo looking for the 1v1 kill. There's no ghost. There's no flash.
I don't think we get out of here. I think Gwen just gets taken down here. Killer Fox absolutely on the run. Just one or two more AAs. There's all it's going to take. And Scion does chop down that tree, taking it down, getting that first blood, showing why Scion is so powerful in the top lane. But you can't count Gwen out yet. Gwen really starts to shine about the mid game or so when they finally get some time to come online. But it's not like, Scion's any slouch whatsoever. So anything to keep Scion ahead will only hurt Gwen's chances.
Yeah, and I mean, let's go back to that bottom lane. There was vision there for the side of TPO's bot lane on Jax coming in, and they just overstayed a bit in the lane. So he gets the flash in, followed up by Islamic, who forced the early flash there out of Kira, and then it was just set up perfectly to get your Ashe one of these early kills in this game. And the Crystal Arrow is going to land.
Ooh, we do get the lockdown, but that Lantern comes in once again for the save, still showing that Thresh has at least a place, even though he's not considered, super crazy meta right now. He still does well, just because of his kit overall, and it'll be hard to take that away from him, especially because that Lantern does a lot of work, just like we saw right there.
Yeah, and the big thing there is that Islamic wasn't in range to follow up on the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, and also he was not level 6. But now the Void Grubs are going to be started up here by the side of Killer Fox and Hug Life, while Dragon is being looked at by the side of TPO Mind Goblins. We're getting the TP back here from Jim Halper. They're going to look to fight for this one and make sure that it's not going to be given over both early game objectives, as Kira takes some damage, but now Killer Fox and Hug Life going in here.
Indigo, absolutely taking quite the pounding, even though this is going to be a Scion. This is still an early game Scion. He is level 8, so he's got 2 on the Jax, and they're really going for it, but diving him is simply not an option. Grubs falling in the background. 3 going to Monkeys, denying it from the other side. That should be a lot of breathing room for them, because Scion and Caitlyn having those would have been quite devastating for sure. But now we're moving further into the game. About 15-minute mark should be about the mid-game when things really start to shift and change around based off of that team fight phase, and I think we should see a bit of a paradigm shift there.
Yeah, and I mean, for Indigo in that top lane play, yes, your team loses 3 grubs, but that's a win for you. You get 2 ultimates out of there. Don't even need the flash or burn your own ult, and you have TP coming up soon. So you can come and be a factor in this dragon fight, as it is now going to be started up here by Mohawk and Jim Halper. They're going to look for this, but I don't think that the side of Monkey Cyborgs is going to get here fast enough. First dragon should be going over here to TPO.
Drake indeed falling to the other side, so keeping up at least with some of the objectives, a little bit of a tide, but honestly, that feels like a bit of a consolation prize, even though it is the first little part of Cloud. Cloud is still very, very powerful in a lot of different ways, but losing those Void Grubs has really, really got a sting. I'll still a bit of a nothing burger in the mid lane, but we are tied pretty close to CS. ASOL sitting at 83, and now we're sitting on 80 on the other side. Killer has had a decent back, but will it be enough in order to deal with Indigo? Indigo should hit like a truck, but at this point, Gwyn should start to come online slowly.
Yeah, and Indigo is going to have to take back here, but still has that TP, still has that unstoppable onslaught to get back to this lane. Just going to look to clear out these minions first. And I was just going to comment on these supports kind of being lane locked, none of them really rotating out. Now, Mohawk could actually be collapsed on here.
Mohawk able to pop that Crescent Guard, buying himself a little bit more time. He does go back in on Killer, and the charm comes in immediately. Nautilus locks in the hook. Mohawk in danger, and we do finally get the last AA, as that's technically a 4-man dive. A little bit of devastating for the Zen to go down, but nothing real crazy. Even at about 11 minutes, we still only have the 1 kill. The Flay coming in, as well as the ultimate Dark Frenzy. It looks like they overstayed their welcome, running directly into Thresh, but can they follow it up? No, they will not. Here is the ultimate for Caitlyn there for the finish. That's 2 ultimates to take down 1 ADC, but they are dead nonetheless, and hopefully the plates will fall in the side of Caitlyn.
Yeah, so good play there by the side of TPO, Mind Goblin's bot lane, punishing that Dark Frenzy was by himself, but then what was that TP from Indigo? He TP's bot lane, uses ultimate, takes 5 tower shots, and then he's going to lose plates up on the top side. So I do not like that top lane, that TP play there by Indigo, but I like the earlier setup there by the side of TPO to be able to get that kill onto Ashe, who also probably could have gone for the cleanse in this game with the stun coming out of the ASOL and the Thresh hook as well. Wait, Enchanted Crystal Arrow flying out, not going to cancel the backs there, as now Caitlyn on this collector, you have Unitals for Dark Frenzy. You have first item here also for Indigo and for Jim Halpert, while it is the completed item, the Rift Maker up there for the side of Killer Fox before there is going to be any more fighting in this game. About 2 minutes from both the Dragon and the Rift Herald hitting the map.
And there's really no reason for them to not fish with that crystalline arrow. It does have a pretty long cooldown. Even right now, it wouldn't help them too much as Mohawk rotates in for a little bit of a gank, looking for it. Islamic Samurai trying to buy themselves some time, but it's just not going to be enough as we immediately go for the meat and potatoes as Ashe gets taken down. The exhaust coming on the other side. It looks like we're going to get a 4-man gank now for the bot as Zen picks up another kill, and that's going to be the feats of warfare for Mind Goblins.
Yeah, just another heads up. Good play by Mind Goblins. They know Dark Frenzy. Burn that flash earlier when he did go down in that 2v1. So they send 4 down to this bottom lane, punish him again, gave Caitlyn another kill, who is very strong now. Gonna take it back, which I'm not the biggest fan of. I think I would have liked to see a play for some turret plates there. But now just going to be getting back on the map. Turret plates falling. We're seeing no reassignments in these lanes right now as everybody's just going back to the standard lanes as Colonel gets a little bit of poke there on T Girl top.
Absolutely. Killer Fox should have an angle here on Indigo, but they've got to dodge plenty of abilities to watch out for. The flash comes in. Indigo is worried about going to get taken down. The passive is activated, but ultimately Gwyn is fully online, and this Scion's really going to suffer for a lot of ways, but this is still Scion, so very, very hard, very, very oppressive to deal with it, as it looks like we're going to get Autocon now in the top lane. Wouldn't be surprised if we see a bit of rotations here, and we're waiting on Shelly, I believe, as well for the next upcoming objective.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked that Indigo went for the Hallowed Radiance as first item. When you're going against double AP solo lanes, Kanik Rooker is such a strong item. So right now, it's just that one item. And with the plated steel caps, this Gwen just absolutely feasts on him. This Jet the Crystal Arrow hits on the hacks. He's going to flash away.
We do go for it, but diving Caitlyn is still very scared to watch out for it as Reliant Soul does another fantastic rotation. Here is the power of Reliant Soul, but it looks like Ari's going to do the exact same thing in the bot lane. So double rotations. Both of these teams really not afraid to come down on the other side and absolutely lay down the smackdown, picking up a couple kills. So this could still go either way despite all of these ganks, despite all of this action. No side has a particularly strong lead just yet.
Yeah, but the big thing is there that Mr. Jimothy Halper had used that large ultimate before this dragon spawns onto the Rift now, so I'm not going to have that big AoE stun in this team fight, but it's already immediately started up by the side of Monkeys, Cyborgs, as Caitlyn is so far from this play. Mohawk is top lane, but we're still looking to contest here, TP behind.
T-Girl top in a little bit of trouble as they go down about half HP. Killer coming in with the TP, but so is Indigo. Unfortunately, he does not have Smite, so he's only wasting his time, and now we're going to get a Drake and 2 kills as Indigo falls to pieces. This may be a tanky Scion, but it's going to be hard to deal with a full team.
Yeah, I'm just not a big fan of that play there by the side of TPO Mind Goblins. You kept Mohawk top to go for this first turret, which you're able to claim, and it sets you on to those full feats now with those upgraded boots. But then you still look to contest the dragon. First of all, you're not set up to take this contest at all. Your jungler, who has Smite, the only person on any team with Smite in this game, there's no summoner spellbook, is top lane. He's getting free gold for himself. He's getting the first turret. He's securing feats. No need to contest there. It's not like it's a soul point and it's going to go over to soul for the side of Monkeys. It's just the first dragon of the game. It's the second dragon in the game overall. So a little bit zealous there for the side of TPO, and we'll see if they're able to bounce back from that mistake.
We did get a little bit of a rotation as it looks like mid and top have decided to go bot as both ADCs are now in the mid lane. Not real surprised by that considering the objectives that are slowly making their way onto the map. Speaking of, Shelly is out ready to go. Killer Fox looking for an angle here to try to lock down Aurelion Sol, but just not quite having the damage just to it. They do take them about half HP, but I think going further than that might be a bit difficult. Aurelion Sol has such a great wave clear and really can fight under tower in a lot of different ways if they don't take too many shots.
Yeah, Colonel now trying to clear out this top wave as Indigo had pushed it in, but missed Jim Halpert. It's just bot lane answering a clear into Killer Fox. Kind of just has to play under his turret so he does not get solo killed here. Just look to clear these waves and be ready for a potential play at this Rift Herald when he does get one of those recalls off. And do a little bit of damage to Killer here, but it's all not that much as Indigo might actually be caught in the pit here.
Indigo, thinking that he was safe, is going to run into almost the full team. Lantern not coming down in. Looks like we are going to buy a little bit of time, but it's less the Lantern at this point and more of the team comp coming as Mohawk goes in, activates Crescent Guard, trying to lock down Hug Life. Hug Life taking a good chunk of damage, but it looks like Ari's going to turn in immediately with a whole bunch of charms and a whole bunch of damage. There is the death sentence coming in on Ashe. Unfortunately, Caitlyn cannot find the range, cannot get in there on time, and is going to pick an arrow directly to the face and going to get taken down. Cyborg Monkey's doing so much work, but here comes an Aurelion Sol with an ultimate to deal a good chunk of damage. Colonel now in trouble, followed shortly behind. Scion Indigo going in, locking them down as that actually turns into a decent trade back and forward. Unfortunately, the objective still fell to the side of Cyborg Monkeys.
Yeah, I mean, that could have been a much better team fight there for the side of TPO if when Hug Life went in, he just auto-attacked Hugs, who did not have that counter-strike up, so this Jax is able to live. Colonel comes over. Mohawk doesn't know which one to focus down, ends up falling down on the backside. A nice Enchanted Crystal arrow there out of Dark Frenzy. 2-hit on to Kira, and no cleanse, no McHale's, not able to get away from that one. But a big re-engage there by Jim Halpert and by Indigo, able to pick up 2 kills on that backside for their team. Luckily, one of them does go to this Aurelion Sol, who wants to get more gold, who wants to be able to win out these long-stalled team fights in this game.
Finally hitting our first real lull as it's going to take about a minute and 30 seconds for the next upcoming Drake, which is going to be an important one. We've got a, Fire Drake up and going here sooner rather than later, so we should get Vision War on both sides. Hopefully both teams are posturing for it because it is going to be an important objective for them to get their hands on sort of equally across the board. About almost 20 minutes now on the clock, and now we're sitting about 31 to 32K, 7 to 8 for our scores right now, Chong.
Yeah, and I mean, with the time it is in this game, that Otacon is going to be starting soon, and we have seen so many teams trust so many elos throw games at this neutral objective. This neutral objective was made to, 1, make people fight for something that isn't Baron, and 2, kill people who try to take it. And it does just that. The shred that it gives is so good to be able to turn games around or just balloon close, even games into such an advantageous position for yourself. As Now we are 6 seconds from that Otacon. You can already see the top side being controlled slightly here by the side of TPO, but you're 25 seconds away from this Infernal Soul or this Infernal Dragon, as you did mention. So I wouldn't be surprised to see if either teams go for an Otacon for Dragon play, because it would only be Dragon number 2 for both sides.
And honestly, if you can take an Autocon over a Drake, that's going to be significantly better, with about 5 seconds on the clock for that to happen. However, even if you do that, even if you have a little bit of a number advantage, Autocon turns games around time and time again, and you don't even necessarily need the full team in order to do that. The Armor Shred does so much work for whoever is currently on Autocon at the time. A little bit of hook coming in, but it looks like the charm's going to be good as T-Girl top takes a little bit of a pounding on their way out. Indigo is here. We do have better position on the side of Mind Goblins, but can they keep it up? Jack's going in. Hug Life starting a little bit of a 4v5 as the Crystalline Arrow does a good chunk of damage. We're going to go back and forth here with the Zen, activating his ultimate. It looks like a Zir just barely able to get out and do a good chunk of damage, but however, on the background killer going in, the exhaust coming down, but it's too little too late as Aurelion Soul gets destroyed from over the other side of the wall. Mohawk going in, trying to dish things out. We have a 2v2, and now we have a 2v3 as Colonel takes a little bit of damage. Caitlyn needs to get in there. This is going to be a good reset. Mohawk is in danger. This Drake is hitting whoever's leaving, as this is going to turn into a top v top rather sooner rather than later, as Ari comes in on the other side. Indigo still taking a pounding, but has a couple of these things. Where is the Caitlyn? You've got to support your Scion. There's an opportunity for them to get out, and you actually add insult to injury, almost taking out your poor Scion. I get the idea, I get the effort, but man, that could have been bad.
And that could have been such a good fight for the side of Monkey Cyborgs. They had a huge TP flank there from Killer Fox, but he's just not able to do enough on the backside. The snips and those needleworks just not hitting the way he wanted them to. Would have been massive if he was able to do more work in the backside of that fight. But overall, neither team able to pick up the dragon here. We now see TPO back up in this top side. I think even on that play, Killer Fox doesn't need the TP. As I said, it's only the second dragon of the game. He was free hitting the top lane tier 2 turret all by himself. He could have just injected himself with so much more gold if he's able to take that. But now, like I mentioned, they are going for the Otacon for dragon play here on the side of TPO Mind Goblins. I don't know if Loki is sending them voodoo magic to let them know what I suggested, but they are going for it.
Absolutely. And I mentioned how good this trade would be in the favor of whoever grabs it. And it looks like they're going to go for it. Sure, getting your hands on Drake is nothing to scoff at, but Autocon does a lot of work for your team. It's an unofficial almost 2,000 gold for your side. Indigo overstaying his welcome just a little bit. Probably should have got out of there, but him distracting two people isn't the worst thing. We still got Autocon on the other end. Indigo still taking a little bit of a poundering back and forth as Killer Fox really wants this kill. Finally able to pick it down on the bottom. And now we're looking to siege on the side of Monkeys, but they need to be really careful. The score is tied, and one little hook, one little mistake can spell a lot of hard work kind of just getting spoiled.
Yeah, I mean, mid lane tier 2 turret fell to the side of Monkey Cyborgs on that play. We saw Jim Halpert split pushing up in the top lane, but not exactly sure where Killer Fox is at that current time. So just goes to back away. Does not want to get caught out at this point in the game, as the Baron is only a minute and a half away from spawning in this game. So just wants to be able to play it safe and not go down at this point when he is such a big factor in these team fights and on those two items, as is Colonel, and going for a much more unorthodox build than I'm used to seeing on this Ari. He went Storm Surgery and Luden's Companion, not what I expected to see at all in this game.
Getting closer and closer to that 25-minute mark on the clock, entering sort of another lull. But we do have Baron coming up in about a minute in, actually just a flat minute going forward. So we should see Vision War there for that one. If we take a look at both at the junglers, it looks like Mohawk is a little bit behind, at least when it comes to the CSing, at least when it comes to the farming. We're about 174. Gold seems to be about even, just a little bit in the favor of Hug Life, despite the fact they don't have a million kills, but they have a good amount of KP, sitting at 7 so far, and they've been there for so many of their own objectives.
Yeah, and before that back, I believe that Mohawk had just a slight item advantage, but now Jungler's going to be even on items here. And if you watched Worlds at all, the casters talked about how like jungle build is the most consistent in the entire game just because of the value you get out of all those items. It's Trinity Force, it's Sundered Sky, it is Black Cleaver, and it is GA. It's not really anything else besides that in the current meta. Just all those items work so well together and provide a lot for your team, especially Guardian Angel. Not enough people respect that item, thinking of just a one-time use into a 5-minute cooldown, but luxury items like that can turn team fights, as now Mohawk takes a lot of damage from this Baron and Colonel Poke as Enchanted Crystal Arrow
Ooh.
flies out but does not find its mark. The Hawk, the sharpshooter archer of Ash Legolas, is not able to land that arrow, was not true. But now the control on the Baron side of the map is now turned over to the side of Monkey Cyborgs, but they are just not going to start for this. They're going for that top lane. Jim Halpert going all the way back to his tier 2 as Killer Fox is split pushing in the bot lane, and nobody's responding to him right now.
Indigo finally going to answer, but at this point, Gwen's kind of turned into a bit of a runaway raid boss, sitting at 6-2, having similar CS and just continuing to hammer on Indigo back and forward, really stopping him from getting close to these towers. But, you know, it could still go either way, especially if you involve a tower in this skirmish in the bot lane, but Sion's kind of locked in the bot for a lot of different reasons. We do have double TP on both top laners, so we can get this number advantage sooner rather than later on either side, but still can be seen either way. What's nice is that the longer this game goes on, the more it's going to favor this Aurelion Soul. Sitting now at level 15, building up stack after stack, they're just only going to get more and more powerful. And I believe they also have something that helps them scale a little bit as well. Yeah, we do have the fancy boots on each side, which it looks like Aurelion Soul has already decided to grab.
Yeah, we normally see like 80Ks and mid laners go for those tier 3 boots a whole lot earlier, just because they are the two roles who get the most gold in the game. Makes a lot of sense to go for that luxury purchase. But a big thing that really interests me in this game is both supports have not gone for the redemption, which I think is very good into both comps, as they are playing more front to back style team fights. So those redemptions can be massive. But you touched on the Aurelion Soul infinite scaling. Do not forget, Sion has infinite scaling as well, but now T-Girl top might be caught out here.
Ooh, T-Girl gonna pick up a charm and 2 stuns immediately back to back. Nice layering on the side of Cyber. Cyber doing a good chunk as once again we're gonna continue this fight. Mohawk overstaying his welcome. It almost turned out really well, but it did not count. Ultimately, as another 2 kills fall to red side, looking in top form. Really struggling now. Top Goblins just not doing as much work as I expected here, but once again, they just need to buy themselves time. They just need to get that infinite scaling like you were talking about, Chung.
Yeah, I mean, Islamic missed the initial hook, but it didn't matter because there was so much CC. Colonel with a nice charm, followed up by a Jax E trying to burn the summoner spell out of Kira, but does not use it. And then the Ash Arrow lands true, but this is just going to be Baron over to the side of Monkey Cyborgs. There's no contest that can come out here by the side of TPO with not having new jungler. They could set their sights onto this dragon and try to take it in the reset timers that Cyborgs will use to spend that gold, as we see they are doing now. And we can see on the minimap that the side of TPO is going to go for this. Indigo's trying to stop backs, but Dragon should just be gone here. There is so much DPS coming out from the Aurelion Soul that they're not going to get back on that fast enough.
The Drake should ultimately fall to TPO. Mind Goblins, which is at least nice for them, a small consolation prize. That Baron buff won't last forever, but you really need to mitigate the damage from the siege. Taking a lot of these towers will help alleviate a lot of the pressure that the towers provide, just sort of by being there overall, and allow them to get their hands on more and more objectives, especially with the fact that we're considering we have 2 Drakes on each side. Both sides are getting really, really close to getting their hands on that third, and of course, that really important 4th Drake. But now looking at the gold, it looks like Monkeys has a bit more of a lead, you know, at least when it comes to just raw gold, sitting about 4K above the blue side.
Yeah, but luckily for the side of TPO, they have such good wave clear on this Aurelion Soul Champ, who's going to leave the mid lane now and try to defend bot lane. I don't like this call all that much. I think you just try to defend your inhibitor turrets and let that outer one fall, because you can see he just does not get there fast enough. As Indigo's all the way back in base, Jax is split pushing in the top lane, 1-3-1 here for the side of Monkey Cyborgs, looking for their first win here, trying to win this series. But TPO not slouches in the Baron defense whatsoever with this composition that they have drafted. T-Girl looking for something, not going to hit that hook, as now top lane Indigo's just holding this wave, so it cannot hit the turret.
Bug Life trying to take down Indigo, but it's overstaying their welcome as Caitlyn got a little bit of rotation, but so is the Ari. This could easily turn around one way or another. The TP coming in at this point. Mind Goblins needs to back up and regroup because this is going to turn into a bit of a hard siege as we're clearing the wave, looking for the inhib, and now looking for the damage. The position is going to be so important here as we're really shaping up for a fight.
Yeah, and we can just see the wave basically instantly deleted between Indigo and from Jim Halper, just both using that Q on the wave, and it's just gone. So Baron getting closer and closer to expiring. We'll see if they're able to fully crack open the space and take one of these inhibitors on the side of Monkey Cyborgs. But so far, the side of TPO is putting up one good defense. Now, Dark Friends in the bot lane, they're gonna, or top lane, they're gonna look to pressure this inhibitor with the side of Jim Halpert being in the bot lane as the mid lane turret is under siege as well. Oh, what a
Ooh, we do
hook
catch a
there.
pretty good hook right now as Death Sentence tries to lock down Killer Fox, but Gwyn is very, very hard to pin down. That's going to be a lot of gold on their side, but it's still, they took him down to about half HP in such a short engagement, but Gwyn immediately returning it with a bit of a snip, taking Caitlyn down. Now we have to get the reset. We should be able to turn this into a bit of an inhib as Asol goes in, looking for the damage, trying to lock down that Ashe, but it's ultimately going to get taken down instead, but the Gwyn's going to fall to pieces. That's going to be a decent shutdown. Thresh going in, trying to buy time for his team as the hooks are good, left and right. Thresh doing the exact same thing. Nautilus trying to keep up with his team, trying to lock them down. This Ari is in trouble. Sure, we've got charm after charm, but the Flay is coming in clutch, doing a good chunk of damage. Indigo going in, should be able to take out the side, and there it is. There's the ace. They just had to buy their time, and now TPO Mind Goblins are back in this game number one.
Yeah, they're able to get some crucial kills, but their base is still in shambles. They lose two inhibitors on that Baron buff siege from the side of on the side of Monkey Cyborgs, but really well played there by T-Girl Top, specifically hitting so many clutch hooks. Played it very well in that fight, but now I have to see what else they are able to do on this map. They have to kind of play these two waves that have Baron buff, or that have these super minions to make sure they just kind of don't take the base and absolutely just end the game for the side of Monkey's Cyborgs. As Dragon's a minute 10 away, they're going to start setting up some vision here. They're looking for the hook. They hit it.
Once again, T-Girl able to get a decent hook, but there's not going to be a lot of follow-up, and I don't. I'm not surprised by their apprehension to go in on that one. They don't know where the rest of the team is, at least at that current moment. So going into it would have been really risky, especially with the fact that we have these constant stuns coming from Dark Frenzy, who is absolutely not shy about hooking or fishing specifically with their ultimate to try to turn this up, and they really have no reason not to. That cooldown only gets smaller as the game goes on.
Yeah, and we'll see what this dragon fight does look like. Indigo's up in the top lane, responding to Colonel, pushing that one in. Both of them have TP. The hook hits again.
There it is. Hook followed by Flay as Killer's taking a good chunk of damage, already down to about half HP as Asol goes in to try to build up a couple more stacks. Does pick up a kill. Looking a little bit better now. 3-2 Hug Life. Overstaying his welcome. Activating Zonia's, but it's only going to buy him a small amount of time as ultimately he gets taken down. And sure, the support picks up a kill, but that's going to be another 2 kills for the other side. Dark staying their welcome as Sion comes in, but they're trying to capitalize on what they can. Grabbing this T3. T3 is down, but the last inhib remains.
And they're also going to pick up this Infernal Soul here and put them onto Soul Point. T-Girl Top with some amazing hooks there, catching out Killer Fox and then setting up the play to be able to get those 2 crucial kills. And then Dark Frenzy just overstaying in the bot lane, gets rotated on and can't really do much about it. No ghost, no flash, just ends up falling down. Yes, they get the turret, but the inhibitor still stands, and the other ones in the mid and top lane will be respawning soon as Baron is 15 seconds away.
Drake falling in the background at some point now, giving us our third great for Mind Goblins. Not really too surprised on that one. At this point, Cyber Monkeys needs to just focus on their positioning because they've gotten caught out time and time again, really just kind of hitting them in the places they don't want to be hit, unfortunately for them. And, you know, to top it all off, the nice thing about Thresh is Thresh's hooks can go through walls, and we've seen just the versatility of that and how that's helped them in a couple of these fights. And even though they haven't necessarily turned into always kills, Thresh just delaying a lot of those fights and stopping people from getting into some of the engagements have really spelled the doom of Monkeys.
Yeah, we can see that T-Girl Top. She has gone for that Mikhail's here. I really do like that pickup. There's so much single target CC on the side of Monkey Cyborg. So just being able to cleanse one of those clutch abilities onto one of your carries is going to be big in this upcoming team fight as they're trying to contest mid-wave pressure. We can see here, Killer Fox is just pushing in that bot lane, looking for that inhibitor, but Mr. Jim Halpern's going to recall. He has a TP of his own and can look to clear out this wave and then come up if there is any Baron to contest. But Killer Fox has kill threat, kill potential on this Ace-Hole.
Aesol taking quite the hammering from Gwen. Gwen trying to return it, but they have overstayed their welcome as the exhaust comes in. Flay is unfortunately not good, and neither is the hook, but Aesol should have plenty of time to lock them down as it looks like we're going to try to go for a bit of a Baron trade. This is a bit risky. There are 4 here and 2 on the other side, but Sion can do a lot of work. It looks like he's going to immediately go for Dark Frenzy. Mohawk is here. The damage should be plenty divided out back and forward, but it looks like immediately Mohawk going to get taken down. Indigo is left here to sort of just pick up the bag, but now Aesol coming in with that scaling should be able to do a lot of damage here. It looks like it's going to immediately get returned on the other side. Indigo not here, but still trying to dish it out as it looks like Thresh maybe getting caught trying to absorb a couple of these shots here from Ari. All we have left is Dark Frenzy, but Caitlyn comes in with the damage, absolutely rocking the competition as it looks like only the support and the ADC on each side are the ones to walk away.
Yeah, what a crazy fight there at the Baron. Jim Halpert TP's in and then looks, oh, the minions, they're going to take this inhibitor again on the respawn. That is not good for the side of TPO Mind Goblins, as now they have another wave for the next couple of minutes of dealing with these super minions. But Jim Halpert, he TP's in behind the Dragon Pit and then immediately flies into the face of the Nautilus. He doesn't have ult, he doesn't have flash, so immediately goes down. They are lucky that Indigo did so much damage in that zombie form and that OG Kira is able to come up and clean up that fight, almost gets all of them, but Islamic burns the flash, gets over the back of that Baron wall. And now we are just in another kind of lull state as waves are just going to be cleared out here by the side of TPO Mind Goblins, while Monkeys, Cyborgs are going to look to start up this Baron and try to put an end to this game number 1.
We do have at least a little bit of advantage right now in terms of vision when it comes to Monkeys, but that can quickly be remedied as we get a little bit of hooking back and forward. The Flay is used, but we still have Death Sense on the other side as Aesol goes in, absolutely rocking not 1 carry, but 2 as they have to watch out for the ultimate coming in, as well as Indigo. Indigo doing a good chunk of damage as Hug Life just sort of gets left here to pick up the bag. They do manage to retreat with the help of Nautilus, but still the other side is on the hunt, and Monkeys has completely lost their vision advantage. This could fall, the Baron that is, to Mind Goblins.
Yeah, and Indigo's just going to be playing bodyguard here. Going to not try to let Hug Life get into this one. But Indigo is zoned out here. This is a good luck here for the Monkeys, but the Baron's already gone. Indigo going to get out thanks to that Dark Passage, and Baron goes over to the side of TPO. They're going to get their resets off. They're going to be able to save these Nexus towers and look to fight in the next 40 seconds for when this Infernal Soul does spawn.
Indeed, getting closer and closer to that soul, which is going to be so important. If Caitlyn's able to get their hands on it, it's going to do a lot of work. But something I think that's worth pointing out is we're getting really close to this 40-minute mark on the game, and Aesol and Indigo have just continued to stack and stack and stack and stack, and it's non-stop, and it's not going to stop at any point. Ooh, there it goes. Looks like we're going to get a little bit of damage there on T-Girl as Thresh gets taken down. Dark Frenzy picking up a kill. Unfortunately, right before the objective, they did not have vision, they did not have wards, and they walked immediately into an ambush, fighting a little bit of a fighting retreat over here, as it looks like another support may go down on the other side, so that's 2 supports down on each side. 2 ultimates going to get activated, but however, Gwen going to get caught in a bad position. Jack's going in, trying to look for the stuns, lots of damage back and forward. We're going to get Zonia's trying to keep people alive, just buying a little bit of time for Hug Life, going to get taken down, but that Aesol, that Caitlyn, that damage is just so hard to deal with.
Yeah, but crucially, the Baron is not going to go to the side of TPO Mind Goblins. They took so much damage in that fight, and with the super minions coming in, they have to take their resets here. So we will be getting another dragon fight for this Dragon Soul for the side of TPO Mind Goblins. Jim Halpert completely untouched in that fight, even though that Howling Mist was up for Killer Fox on this Gwen. He just literally sits there and spams Q through it, not caring. Even able to pick up Hug Life on this Jax once he does come out of that Zonius. This Asol 7, 3, and 14, and quietly the duo carry alongside him of OG Kira 7, 3, and 7 on this Caitlyn. These two can do insane burst damage and then just immediately chase somebody down and wipe them off the face of the rift.
Absolutely. The scaling, the damage, and now the soul are going to do so much work for Mind Goblins. But the important part is, this scaling, the longer the game goes, it is a bit of a double-edged sword because every death counts more and more and more. That gray screen to get quite oppressive. So at this point, anyone stepping one toe out of line could spell the entire game for the other team.
Yeah, and I mean, gold is 6K up for the side of TPO Mind Goblins, but with everybody being close to final items, the gold lead is starting to matter less and less. And you can see completed for Kira, has everything in inventory except for those upgraded boots. Full item for Jen. Full build here for T-Girl. Full build for Indigo. The only person without a full build is Mohawk right now.
Still in that awkward phase, and this is what's hard about the lower elo areas is the fact that when you get in this stage, and I guess it's difficult for the T1s and the T2s as well, but when you get this stage, you don't really know where to go. Sure, you can farm right here, but like we're seeing a perfectly bad example of what you shouldn't do when you're overextending as the entire team tries to capitalize on this. However, this is going to be a lot of beefcake to take down and giving Asol plenty of time to come in and look at that damage as he's absolutely melting everyone with AoE. That's going to be a double kill followed shortly into a triple. Is he going for the quadra? He's going to try. The exhaust is good. Asol out for blood, picking up the quadra. Where is his Penta? Looks like Gwen is over there in the background. So maybe he's going to go for it, but I don't think he necessarily needs to.
Oh, she's thinning the wave. She's taking the wave away. They only have this cannon minion here to try to end the game on the side of TPO Mind Goblins. They also have Scion, which is kind of a cheat code when it comes to sieging these turrets. But now Killer Fox can TP back in, go for a purchase real quick right here, and then look to defend. The end is coming out here for the side of TPO Mind Goblins, but they're going to just back away. What?
I don't really blame them. I don't think they can end in 10 seconds. You cannot underestimate Gwen when it comes to damage because she can buy at least 10 seconds for her team to come online, and the game can turn around quicker. So they're deciding to play game number one a bit more cautiously. I don't necessarily disagree with it. So many teams get, hyper focused and it's like, oh, there's the prize, let's go for it. And it costs them the game. So I do understand the backing off.
I mean, yeah, at this point, but like you have a full build Caitlyn who can just kind of one-shot these turrets, and then you have Indigo who can just tank them for so long. Oh, another great hook here by this Thresh from T-Girl.
Fortunately, locking down Gwen is easier said than done, especially this late in the game, but that was a good chunk of damage and a decent amount of follow-up. And really, at this point, if we just keep watching our positioning, this game should fall in the side of Mind Goblins just with all this pressure. But the thing to note is they haven't taken these T2s in top lane, in bot lane. That's something that Cyber Monkeys can, or Monkey Cyborgs can do in order to sort of leverage their advantage. And we're going to continue to push down the mid lane, which is helpful, but you're not going to end at this point. You need to get your hands on some more of these towers.
Yeah, and it looks like they're going to try to do that up in the top lane right now as 5 members are making their way. They're looking for a little bit of a pick potential here before they go for this turret, as the wave is pushing in favor of them, as you can see on the minimap. We'll start to push out slowly, but somebody will have to answer it shortly. But 10 seconds. Indigo walking in.
Indigo acting as bait for his team as the Flay comes in on the other side, locking down the Ahri. Here comes the Zonias for the Zen, but is it going to be enough? No, it's not. Crescent Guard going to get activated, but still, there's a lot of damage back and forth. Caitlyn absolutely rocking the competition. Damage after damage. Asol should come in sooner rather than later. Looks like it's going to be a 2v3 so far, but Asol's still alive, looking for the damage, trying to dish it out. Dark Frenzy here, trying to return it, but Indigo here to follow it up. There's going to be a double kill for the Asol, as it looks like it's going to turn to top laner into Ashe. Scion into Ashe. A lot of damage back and forth. We should have the kiting here for Ashe, but that's a very tanky Scion to have to deal with, and there it is. There's the ace, but I don't think we can end off of this, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, we are going to be here for a little bit longer. I mean, Indigo's going to clear out this wave. He's going to look to threaten these inhibitor turrets. Or, sorry, these Nexus turrets.
Seconds. 15 seconds for Ari, so he should have at least be able to take out
Oh
some
my
of these fountain turrets.
God.
One fountain turret going down, and that shows the power of Sion. Yeah, he might just be able to end. Still 5 seconds on the clock before really anything happens. This is over, because even if Ari popped up 5 seconds sooner, this is going to be a dead Nexus. I doubt she can stop it at this point. We still have the passive for the other side, but look how close we're getting. Just 1 or 2 more shots from the Sion. There it is, going into that mode, looking for it, but he just needs a shot or 2. Can he find it? One more.
Oh,
Yes, he
gets
does. Sion's definitely not broken in game number 1, Chung.
What a roller coaster of a game number 1. Both teams having moments in this one. And I mean, this late game was won by one person, and one person in particular. It was won by T-Girl top on this Thrasher champion. We both had questions about coming into this draft, but such massive hooks were coming out onto such clutch members, hitting Killer Fox with big hooks, even Colonel on this Ari, and getting Dark Frenzy, and even the Jax, who is relatively squishy, all things considered. I think T-Girl played absolutely phenomenal in this game number 1, despite having a rough early game and maybe us not being too keen on the Thresh, but proved us both wrong. TPO Mind Goblins able to take a big game 1 number win here.
Absolutely, and what a great win for them to continue. However, we cannot count Cyborg Monkeys out, or Monkey Cyborgs out of this one. This is only going to be game number 1 of 3 different games, so best of 3 overall. So hopefully we get to that 3rd game. I'd love to see a bit of a back and forward and see these players get pushed sort of to their limit in kind of this fearless setting. Either way, give us a couple of minutes. We're going to go into a small break while we wrangle some of the cats and run through the ads so we don't get any ads during the actual game. We'll be right back. Alrighty, we are back moving into game number 2, but specifically draft number 2. First couple of bands are out. I don't expect a insane amount of difference here in a couple of these. Already starting off with the Vi, with the Jinx, and going in Sivir and a Mumu. So no real changes on that. We did pick up a Thresh band for the end of blue side, and another item of housekeeping. It looks like we're sticking to the same sides. Mind Goblins going in the blue, and of course the monkeys are in red.
Yeah, I mean, these are the exact same bands from game number 1. Kind of shocked, like, Sivir isn't high prior on this list for TPO Mind Goblins. I think this champion is still really good. But looking at that controversial Kaisa, where I feel like she's in a weird spot in the meta right now, because, like, she feels she feels strong and, like, feels weak at the same time. Because, like, you normally want to go that AP build, but if you have double AP solo laners, you have to go on hit build, and that just feels so much worse than that AP poke build. So really gonna watch how TPO decides to draft around this one. But Monkeys doesn't draft like a super tank. It doesn't matter if you have 3 AP damage dealers because nobody's gonna be tanking those up. But the blue champion of choice, the OP of OPs right now in the current meta, looks like Yunara is hovered here so far on the red side, and that will be locked in here for game number 2.
And this is actually a pretty common matchup in the meta, Yunara into Kaisa, and it can still go either way. As you mentioned, Yunara is still very, very powerful. The only things that they nerfed to get her off of that picker ban status was just entirely her movement speed and, of course, her slows. Her damage hasn't really been touched whatsoever. So there's still a lot of really good angles to play into that. And we're going to answer that with Braum, which I do like because Braum provides a lot of those slows, which will help Yunara sort of get in range with a lot of those different AoEs. But positioning is going to be so important to watch out for a lot of things for sure. But the Kaisa, the
Yeah,
Braum, the Yunara already. Go ahead, Chung.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm a big fan of Yunar Braum bottom lane. I think it's a really good duo. Can provide a lot of pressure into whatever 2v2 is gonna be picked here. And it looks like it's gonna be okay. Okay, so Nico. I Nico's like okay into Braum just because he can block that Bramble Barbs, which can be actually massive, but you can still get those multi-man pop blossoms. You can still be super effective on this champion. You just don't have as much 2v2 pressure as you normally would do with playing a Nico bot lane because there is a Braum in the game. And Yunara does actually okay into double range lanes just because she does have that free movement speed buff. But Wukong is kind of the answer into Yunara AD carry because she kind of just doesn't get to play the game if he dives onto you and you get hit with a double cyclone. So I do like that pick. I think Monkeys was also looking at Wukong as a possible jungle for them because I think it does work really well with their composition. But gonna go with the Trundle. They're kind of looking for this single target, burst you out again kind of composition that they played in game number 1, where TPO Mind Goblin was looking for that team fight wombo combo that they had.
Yeah, and with Wukong and his armor shred, that'll provide a lot of much needed support in a lot of different ways. That pop blossom can be very, very powerful if you can get in range for it. Plus, even the pros don't count the minions, so a lot to watch out for. That is a decent amount of poke with that back and forward. And the nice thing about Nico into Braum specifically is one of the things Braum really wants to do is Braum wants to run into other melees. That Q does a lot of work into a lot of these other melee champions, and he really, really wants that. Nico kind of denies him that and returns with a quite heavy poke of their own. So really, I think the goal is going to be trying to lock down this Kaisa. If we're able to get the full passive off on Kaisa, locking her down, Yunara should be able to turn this into a kill. The ganks, at least early on, should be a bit better on Wukong's side, just sort of overall because of how he is. Trundle and Wukong still very, very powerful, but kind of at different notes. But they are common responses to each other.
Yeah, I mean, I also think the side of Monkeys kind of wants some form of engage. So I think like an Orin up in the top lane can be very good for their composition, will really help with that team fight engage that they're looking for that they don't really have right now. Well, you can also just go like in Oriana, a Syndra, or a Common Victor in the mid lane and still do a lot of work there in that matchup. But really curious to see what TPO kind of rounds their composition out with because they don't really have a strong front line right now with Wukong Nico, but they also do so much damage with their composition so far. And you don't want to draft a super tank because there is a Trundle in the game. You just don't want to give Trundle those free stats. So it becomes really interesting with how you are going to draft. And Vex Hover, definitely interesting. I don't remember if we've had a Vex yet this BOL season.
I do think Vex does well about this elo. You know, a lot of players are still kind of shaky on how to deal with them. So I do see the angle, especially if this is going to be a comfort pick. But if this is not going to be a comfort pick, I think going against someone who is as meta as Oriana can be really hard to deal with. But the kind of thing that's going against monkeys in this one is the fact that we don't have a super great ball delivery system. Typically, when you see Oriana, you want to see the Nocturnes, you want to see the Zens, even Wukong's not too bad. Jarvan's really great. You want someone that will close that distance extremely quickly. And Trundle can kind of do that if we get a good pillar off. So there is a good spot. And they have a lot of AoE denial, but you are missing a little bit of an element of that. But the lock-in is going to be Vex. And we're going with Tahm Kench, I believe, in the top lane. Okay, I haven't seen this in a while.
I mean, blinding Tahm Kench is a choice. I'm not really sure what is good into Tahm Kench because, like, just if you said, it's been a while since I really have seen this champion played up in the top lane or just played in general as Senna. Tahm Kench kind of fallen out of meta. And nobody really plays the catfish without like some actual reason to. Like, there is so much single target CC that you kind of want that devour for one person, but there really isn't that in this game on the side of Monkeys Cyborgs. But they're going to last pick that Mordekaiser up here for Killer Fox. So looking to have another strong AP threat up in this top lane, while TPO Mind Goblin kind of threw together an interesting draft with those last two picks, but for the most part, it is just a traditional dive composition that they have here.
Absolutely. And, you know, Monkey Cyborg's really going for this super crazy meta pick. Everything in here just really screams on that side. Vex and Tahm Kench scream more comfort picks and situational and subversion of expectations, which work perfectly fine right about this level. I'm honestly hoping, I'm rooting in the background for this Tahm Kench necessarily because I just haven't got a chance to see him in a long time. And I'm one of those weirdos that I'm a really big fan of it. I think it's going to struggle into the Mordekaiser, but honestly, when it comes to that specific matchup, I don't know because, like I said, I haven't seen it in so long, Chong.
Yeah, we'll have to see how the Thomas Kenchington can actually do up there into this Mordekaiser. Definitely going to be a lane to keep our eyes on, but I don't think that's the idea for the junglers here. I think they are focused on these two AD carries, this Kaisa and this Yunara for their respective sides. I think both junglers here, Mohawk and I'm blanking on jungler name right now, are just going to be pathing for this bot lane, trying to get one of those two ahead in this game.
With that being said, though, we should be getting the Spectale kicking down here in a few minutes. Not sure exactly where it is out, but we're going to go into a tiny break, and the timer should sort of orient you on where exactly we're going to be sitting. But don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Alrighty, here we go. Game 2 is finally on the docket, finally on the menu, and now we're starting off with a 1-0 lead in the favor of Goblins. This could be potential match points for Cyborg Monkeys if they're not careful.
Yeah, and some interesting stuff to talk about here. We have Ghost again here on Dark Frenzy on this Yunara. Guardian recently got buffed here on Islamic Samurai. You have Colonel with the area again. That's fine. I think Phase Rush would have been better in this matchup. But you have PTA here on Hug Life, not going for that lethal tempo, which I definitely think is an interesting call. But also, Alexcu on Jim Halpert can actually be massive in this game to one-shot either Colonel or Islamic if he's able to find that ultimate onto them, and it's not eaten up by Islamic in this game at all. But definitely going to be looking at the spot lane. I think that's where both junglers are going to be looking. They both have good gank setup for them, and if one of these two can get ahead, they can absolutely take over a game.
Absolutely. The thing I'm a little worried about I haven't got a chance to look through all of these U.GGs, but T-Girl, I'm not sure if they are familiar with Nico, if this is a comfort pick for them. But Nico can really end in a lot of catastrophic ways because that Pop Blossom, despite it having quite the massive ring, can be difficult for even the most seasoned players to sort of get in there and activate it correctly. It all depends on positioning and just the situation of the other side and the other team overall. So that is something to watch out for. But early game shouldn't be that big of a deal. This poke should be quite phenomenal in the favor of Nico. They have quite the range on it.
Yeah, and then just some minute things here so far. T-Girl top using that early ward in their tri-bush. Do not like that play whatsoever. Also, Jim Halpert just got his first CS of the game and has already had to chug a pot because that clockwork windup does work in the early game as Indigo is going to take so much damage up here.
And absolutely, going back to Indigo and Killer Fox, still no real clue on how that's supposed to go down. Sure, if this was, 2 years, maybe 3 years ago, I could have a pretty good prediction on how Tahm Kench is supposed to play into Mord. But the thing is like Mord's such a powerhouse right now in the meta. He does so well for a million different reasons, and he really much, is this raid boss. But the thing that's nice about Tahm Kench is he does fit what Riot really seems to try to focus on in the top lane, which is sort of these skirmishing back and forward, that health regen, that specifically that lifesteal, that tongue attack does a lot of work for him. And so if he's able to leverage that and get the range off on Mord, that'll be great. But Mord has deceptively large range.
Yeah, and I'm also really curious if Killer Fox is going to go for that Hexplate build that we have seen popping up a whole lot, just because it gives you so many good stats and it gives you the sticking power when you're in that death room without needing to spend the money on the Rylai's. So we'll see what he does choose to go here. As so far, CS is even in the bot lane, CS even in the top lane. It's only mid lane. Jim Halper being the one down after he dropped quite a few CS there in the early game.
And what's been nice here about Dark Frenzy and Islamic Samurai is they've done really, really well to basically not only just dodge the Nico poke, which is a bit more powerful, but leveraging that Q over and over has really won them a lot of trades. And Yunara's helped with that with a lot of these AoEs. Because one of the nice things about Yunara is her AoEs are significantly easier to hit if you're going into her. We are starting to fight Hug Life into the Wukong. Monkey King does have to back off, but Vex is here for a little bit of support. So still nothing real crazy just quite yet, Chong.
Yeah, Hug Life did get that first Scuttle Crab thanks to a smite, but now Mohawk can just go bot lane and pick up one for himself because he has Prio in the bot lane. Midwave is also pushed out right now, so can be no contest on him at this point, unless they look to go for something here, as we saw Islamic walking on the minimap. But he's just going to put down a ward, make sure there is no Wukong gang coming out right now, as junglers are both going to be finishing up their first recalls here. We see the Trinity Force start here with the Sheen being picked up for Hug Life and matched here by Mohawk, as that Bramble Barbs is going to connect and the Blooming Burst is going to get 2 procs.
Dark Frenzy trying to turn in a little bit of poke on their side. I do like what Nico's doing here with the clone, trying to avoid that Q shot, which can do a lot of work. Tahm Kench, despite that despite that health steal, is really struggling, at least when it comes to the poking, when it comes to the lane itself. So maybe at some point he really comes online or has really good ganks. I'm just trying to figure out the thought process here for the Tahm Kench.
Yeah, he might actually. Okay, he's gonna be okay. I thought Killer Fox. Oh my gosh, so close to that first blood there. Flashes in.
Oh, it looks
and
like
that's
he
just,
goes in for it anyways. Okay.
Yeah, easy first blood there for Killer Fox. He was hitting all those obliterates throughout that laning phase, and Indigo just can do nothing into that at this point in the game. He's gonna pick up a giant spell for himself. CP back up to the top lane, but Killer Fox off to a good start here in game number 1 on this Mordekaiser.
We are getting a little bit of trade as Hug Life does force out the flash on the Vex, so that is going to be a powerful tool outside of it. Vex doesn't super crazy need it, but it is going to be helpful for it for a lot of different reasons, because once that pillar gets in range, Trundle can be quite hard to get away from. Even though the ganking power is a little bit stronger on the Wukong, if Trundle is able to get the right positioning for it, it can be next to impossible to escape from some of the ganks on his end. Getting our first dramatic pause, probably followed by another dramatic pause. Oh, there was for like 0.3 seconds.
Nope, here it is right now. But luckily, it was a short pause. But it means we can talk about some stuff here. We're going to have a gold lead up lane in the top lane for Killer Fox. It's got that first blood and he's up CS. But it is a 20 CS lead in the mid lane for Colonel over Jim Halper, which is absolutely massive for this Orianna in this game. Mm-hmm. And we've seen how much damage Oriannas can do. I'm really curious what build he's going to go. If he's going to go for that like more bruisery build with the Roa and the Seraphs, or if he's just going to go for that more traditional first mage build with like the Ludens and the Leandries and the items like that.
Absolutely, and there is always a thought process between between trying to find the subversion of expectation. Hug Life, however, looking for a gank over here into Indigo. This Shadow Realm does activate. Killer Fox actually taking quite the pounding, so we are seeing some of the damage here on Tahm Kench, as it looks like Hug Life's here immediately for the damage, immediately for the kill, but Wukong trying to follow it up as Tahm Kench somehow manages to get out of there, and that ends up not turning into really anything. That's really surprising on both ends.
Yeah, I think Hug Life tried to get the kill over there to Killer Fox instead of just taking it for himself. So just a little bit of a misplay there, but also big thing in the mid lane is Mr. Jim Halper had to take a recall for himself, getting that Faded Ashes. Colonel still has not recalled yet in this game. Ult comes out.
Vex going in, closing the distance really quickly, forcing the flash there on Colonel as we get about 1 or 2 AAs away from death, and that's going to be 2 flashes down on the other side. TP used for Vex, but used quite well, turning that immediately into a decent ultimate. So I am seeing the idea of Vex here, but that CS does need to come up. Like you said, being about 20 CS down will really spell quite the difference.
Yeah, I mean, Colonel is lucky to not fall down there, but he's going to just hold on to this lead. And now that he's level 7, He has no flash on his enemy laner, and he's sitting on that Lost Chapter Amplifying Tome. There might be an angle for Colonel to get one of these solo kills if he can hit that big command shockwave. So we'll have to keep our eyes out for that. Dragon being looked at here by the side of TPO in this second game, looking to get the first one for themselves again. And it looks like they're going to be able to do it again here in game number 2 with no contest coming out for the side of Monkey Cyborgs. But Void Grips do spawn in the next 20 seconds.
Still not a crazy amount of movement, despite the fact that the grubs are, just like you said, a couple of seconds away from spawning. It looks like we're going to go immediately for this Drake. Not really too surprised with that. Wukong does have plenty of time in order to take out both of these objectives, and there's really no reason for him to not try. But I've got to imagine the Void Grub should favor monkeys. We do have Mordekaiser here, who is just quite the, absolutely devastating to deal with if they're able to position. But I have seen so far some of the damage on Indigo. So there is some sort of angle for them to do that. Hug Life, once again, looking for another gank. Shouldn't be close enough, though, for one.
Yeah, just going to be able to walk away there for the bot lane of TPO. But right now, the lanes are going well for monkeys. So, like, we know the Void Grubs are spawning and nobody's rotating over for them. I think that's absolutely fine here by the side of monkeys because you were just winning every single lane. Your Trundle is just free farming. Yes, he's down in the CS department, but like every single lane you have is up right now. So you want to just keep these lanes the same way they are for as long as possible in this game.
Well, and one of the things that makes some of these more meta champions meta is just kind of how consistent they're going to be. So if Tom Kinch or if Vex are going to try to irk out some sort of victory, it's got to be in sort of a roundabout way. You've got to capitalize on some sort of advantage. And I think maybe for Vex, the idea is to get in there and just absolutely nuke Orianna before they can really get anything in there. But at this point, they do have the Shockwave, which is very, very powerful and very, very hard to watch out for. And still, that constant lead Shockwave coming in on top of Vex as just like you called it, picking up the solo kill in mid lane. Colonel, got to be feeling happy with that one.
Yeah, but now we can see here Indigo and Mohawk are on these Void Grubs with the collapses coming through for Killer Fox.
Cyclone activated there by Mohawk on both ends. A lot of damage back and forth. We've got plenty of opportunities here for them, but Trundle is absolutely happy to continue this damage, continue dishing this out while Mordekaiser absolutely rocks the competition. That's got to be great because not only did they pick up the objective, but they picked up another 2 kills.
Killer Fox was so close to falling down in that play, but he's able to get the Death Realm off just in time, get the solo kill onto Indigo, steal away some of that HP stat, and be good enough to be able to survive the Mohawk damage coming out. They're picking up 2 Void Grubs for themselves, so not the 3, won't be spawning the Void Might, but it is one closer to those neutral objective feats, and they were able to claim the feats of warfare, so already feeling good about this game. Like I said, Killer Fox has gone for the Leandri's first item, not going for that Omnivamp and the Riftmaker into the Hex Plate, but could always choose to build those later, so we will have to keep an eye on what he does with his purchases going forward in this game.
And things are not looking super fantastic for Goblins. They're sitting at 0 and 4. They're down the majority of the Void Grubs, but they have been able to get their hands on at least one objective, and that kind of just shows to the power of Wukong. I think at this point, Wukong needs to be trying to look for some of these ganks. They do have a lot of power in that, and you might as well lean into it. But the problem is both supports have been very, very prominent about setting up wards here for these ganks because they know how important those ganks are going to be.
Yeah, and I'm surprised like no junglers really tried to force their way in and clear out this vision or anything like that. Both these bot lanes are just willing to push waves back and forth into each other. You see the CS has evened out ever so slightly here in the bot lane, but the mid lane CS discrepancy just keeps growing. Last time we talked about it, Colonel was up 20 CS. He's up almost 40 CS now at this point in the game.
Absolutely, plus the kill. So, about 10 CS is roughly about 100 gold or so. So that's quite the difference. Mohawk running directly into Hug Life. And this is why you see Trundle a lot of times into Wukong, because that lifesteal just does so much work. He's absolutely chunking Mohawk. Shockwave coming in as Hug Life, thanks to the help of Colonel, picks up another kill, now sitting at 0 and 5, going for a couple of these plates.
Yeah, and the side of Monkey Cyborgs did not like how game 1 ended up finishing, and they're coming out strong here in this game number 2, absolutely demolishing all their lane counterparts. We had the solo kill in mid, solo kill in top, the outplay at the Void Grubs, and then the 2v2 kill with Colonel and Hug Life. They are looking poised in this game number 2. We'll have to see. Right now, Kira has not fallen yet in this game. is falling behind or staying evenish in the CS department. So we'll have to see if this guy can be the carry.
Indigo getting locked inside the Shadow Realm with Mordekaiser. Did finally end, but Mord just needs one, maybe two more AAs. Killer really wants it, but unfortunately, it looks like the Tahm Kench is just a little bit too slippery as Hug Life returns back to the mid lane. Pillar up and Pillar down now for the cooldowns as 14 seconds on the clock for the next upcoming Drake.
Yeah, luckily for Jim Halpert, there was just positioned at the right side of the pillar to not get knocked towards Colonel or towards Hug Life there. But now Hug Life looking bottom lane. But now Killer Fox is the focus top lane.
Killer Fox taking quite the pounding from the combination as Tahm Kench gets quite the healthy shutdown in the top lane. Bot lane is able to survive their gank. I thought Nico was going to get taken down there, but it looks like they had plenty of spacing in order to fight that out. The Drake is up, and the positioning should be much better for Monkey Cyborgs, but Vex might be able to get a tower off of it.
I mean, I like that play a lot there out of Monkey Cyborgs because they get the Pop Blossom and the Flash out of T-Girl top. So I'm not going to have that Nico pressure at this Dragon fight. So the second Dragon is going to go over to the sides of Monkey Cyborg here in this game number 2. As you can see, Mohawk just trying to get what he can on the map, stealing away those Raptors away from a Hug Life. But right now, mid lane still not feeling the best for the side of Jim Halpert. And really, this game isn't feeling too great for the side of TPO Mind Goblins.
1-4, just like you were talking about, 19-22, so not an insane lead with gold. The nice thing about League of Legends is Riot implemented a lot of different things throughout the years to sort of stop a lot of these snowballs, and entering the team fight phase of the game is one of those. Killer, maybe overstand is welcome, going to run into Mohawk, the Monkey King, once again activating Cycle Cone, able to do a good chunk of damage, taking Killer already down to about half HP, but we should have the spacing on Mord to get out of here. It looks like indeed that is going to happen. And looking now at objectives, we should have Shelly coming up sooner rather than later. And I think both sides want to try to get their hands on it. The first to crack one of these towers is going to be really important for pressure.
Yeah, and we are starting to get one item spikes coming out of here. Double Kraken Slayer in the bot lane. Heartsteel picked up for Indigo, but notably, Mr. Jim Halpert and both Mohawk are behind their counterparts, so potentially fighting for this Rift Herald might not be it, but now Indigo actually is going to be the focus. Hug Life is on his way up here.
A little bit of damage on Indigo. Trundle here for the save. This pillar should come in clutch, stopping him if he's got it up available. Looks like there it is. Finally, a little bit of delayed, but Tahm Kench trying to trade it back and forth, but it's just not going to be enough in order to deal with not only Hug Life, but Killer. That's going to be quite the prominent gank, and now Mordekaiser has a bit more of a lead and will continue to push this wave and hopefully crack this first tower for his team.
Yeah, he's going to be able to, and that's going to be feats picked up here for the side of Monkey Cyborgs. But the question is, Indigo did get a Heartsteel stack, so was it worth it in that gank? I absolutely do not think so, because now you lose your turret. Now you got to deal with the Mordekaiser in this extended lane. As we can see, that in the bot lane was Jim Halpert as Mohawk held mid, but no play is going to be coming out there. Rift Herald going to be picked up here by Hug Life, and they can probably just hold on to this before that Dragon spawns and then just crack this mid lane turret and have so much more control over the vision line, over control of this game and mid wave pressure, which is so clutch and crucial in the game of League of Legends.
Absolutely. Both sides looking to grab their buffs and get ready to go. The biggest thing I'm worried about is more and more of these towers are continuing to get cracked. Colonel's not even too far as it looks like we're looking for the gank, trying to lock him down. Vex goes in with an ultimate as Nico tries to follow up. The exhaust coming in, the bit of damage. We are going to get the root, trying to lock them down. Pop Blossom should be good. Will it provide enough time? Vex able to pick up a much needed shutdown on that Orianna. Finally getting a little gold in their pocket. That should definitely help them out for the team fight phase.
Yeah, they use both ultimates and the exhaust there out of T-Girl top, but luckily Colonel flashes in that play, and there was no flash on Jim Halpert or T-Girl, so they're just able to get that kill, and now Islamic actually is going to be the focus here. Kira is trying to look for damage.
On each side, it looks like we're going to get a flash on the other end, and now Dark Fantasy sort of just left here holding the bag. There shouldn't be a way to get out of here. There's going to be the flash, but is it going to be enough? No, it's not, as Kaisa picks up a second kill. Absolutely devastating for Monkey Cyborg's Hug Life, trying to lock down this Vex, doing a good chunk of damage. If they can get over the wall, they might be able to get to safety, but still, Trundle is absolutely on the hunt, trying to lock him down, and is going to find it now, sitting at 4-0. This is a very happy Trundle.
As TPO breathed life back into this game, they are immediately squashed by Hug Life on this Trundleson at 4-0, picking up a mid lane turret for themselves, and Dragon spawning in the next minute. They're looking for a charge on the tier 2 here. Going to get a lot of damage here. The Void Grub spawn as well. Killer Fox is here. They're just going to get a tier 2 turret in mid lane as well before this Dragon even does spawn. And that is so much gold and pressure now that the side of Monkey Cyborg is able to acquire for themselves.
Indeed, Monkey Cyborg's getting so much off of that, getting a lot of macro, which of course will help them win the games. Then picking up kills as well is definitely really helpful. Looks like we're going to get a TP trying to lock down this Orianna. Braum is here. Unfortunately, direct camera is going to focus on the top lane instead. There it is. We go on the other side. Tom Kent's trying to get his way out of there, using the tower to his advantage as mid actually turns into the Doug. It looks like for once the directed cam was correct.
I mean, the fact that Indigo lives that top play is insane. And then also the TP flank not working out there for the side of TPO Goblin. The game of League of Legends, it gives and it takes. But now, luckily for Mohawk, a nice use of that Warrior Trickster to not get pushed back there by that pillar and potentially fall down. But Dragon is going to be the focus in 10 seconds. And it being a Cloud Soul, people don't like this item a lot. Or, sorry, this soul a lot. It is so good for either composition that say we're picking up this game.
We are going for another trade in bot lane. Not really too surprised that with the Drake kicking up. Oh, it looks like we're walking a little bit too far forward. Unfortunately, going to get taken down right before the objective, which could quickly turn into another Drake on the side of Monkey Cyborgs.
Yeah, and we'll see how this ends up going. This is just going to be the free dragon, but what can the side of TPO get in this game? They get a mid lane turret for themselves, as both Kira and I'm blanking on names, Tigro Top are on the run trying to survive. They're looking actually to get this top lane turret. But wait, Huglet's the only one in the pit. This is going to be a 50-50. Can he outsmite the Trundle? And he does! Mohawk!
It looks like he does not get it.
2.
Cyclone getting activated as Monkey is doing a good chunk of damage, but Dark Frenzy comes in for a little bit of damage. But at that point, you know, Wukong's got to be happy with that. Not only denying the Drake, but taking it from the other side. Shockwave in the top lane as a couple of shower shots happen on top of Indigo, but Indigo is happy to really continue to trade those, but not if he picks up a death. Ooh, playing with fire, and he indeed got burned.
Yeah, a bit of an overplay for the side of TPO Mind Goblin. They tried to push in that mid wave, or sorry, that top wave, and just get punished by how much damage can actually come out from Colonel in this game. Is able to clear the wave instantly with the shockwave, and you go take so many tower shots. And then the command attack with this build actually does so much damage. So the side of Monkey Cyborg is looking poised to win game number 2 as Otacon spawns at the top side of the map.
Indeed, Otacon is now live. That's going to be our next objective for quite some time. Shouldn't be anything really too much in between that, but neither side, despite the fact that this game is sitting at 4-10, you really don't want to risk that Otacon. Otacon is such a game changer for the other side, especially considering the fact that we have Mohawk here on Wukong. Wukong loves to go in and interrupt an Otacon, but maybe they're going to prove me wrong and try to shoot for it anyways.
All right, we'll see what ends up happening here. Both teams are trying to get the Scuttle Crab, but Hug Life is able to just get that one away thanks to the Chomp and Smite power, as the ball is just going to zone away the side of TPO for now. Warrior Trickster used, and they're still looking to contest for this vision. As we can see, Killer Fox is walking up here on the mini-map. Indigo does have TP, and Killer Fox does not, so Indigo can continue to push out this wave and get some more gold for himself before he looks at TP in to this potential Otacon fight. But it looks like it's just going to be a whole lot of nothing, as it is just Vision Control is the eyes here for the side of Monkey's Cyborgs.
Absolutely, because, you know, even at this point in the game, Monkey Cyborgs wants to try to bait this out. They want to turn this into a number advantage before they start this objective, ideally trying to get their hands on Wukong, which indeed they're looking for an angle, but trying to find the follow-up will be quite hard, as it looks like Hug Life trying to go around the other side. Nico doing a great job with their clones, scouting things out, trying to buy times for their team, but at this point, there's only going to be 3 here. This is going to be a 4v3 in the favor of Monkeys. The pillar comes down, but so does Pop Blossom. That's going to be a 3-man ult as Killer comes in the other side, picking up a kill. Dark Frenzy able to do a good chunk of back and forth as the Cyclone comes in. The exhaust goes immediately on top of the Vex, and there is the Kaisa going in, trying to dish out the damage, but it's just not going to be enough, as Monkeys not only had the positioning, but had the damage as they take down 4 members of Goblins.
Yeah, and it was just a really good team fight for the side of Monkey Cyborgs. They were able to catch out T-Girl top before able to really get a clutch engage. You did get a two-man Pop Blossom, but at this point in the game, your team is just so behind. We saw Kira try to fly on the back line, was able to pick up the kill on the Colonel, but just not able to pick up the one on the Dark Frenzy because of how much shielding, and assisting can come out from the rest of the comp to keep that Kaisa from picking up that crucial shutdown. But we see the idea out of TPO Mind Goblin's comp, but it's just not coming to fruition here in this game number 2. As Monkey Cyborg, they are up almost 10K in this game, only up 7 right now. But with the Otacon, that is about a 2,000 gold lead for themselves with how many petals that they actually do have in Adaptive Force. But Dragon is going to be the next target in a minute 10, and we'll see if Monkeys is just so strong that there can be no team fight for the side of Mind Goblins, or if they find the crazy flank angles and threaten the back line and are able to win the fight before they get wiped off the rift.
Well, and I'm sort of thinking about this too with the soul that it's going to be. This is going to be a cloud soul, which Yunara, Dark Frenzy specifically, is going to be loving so much, but it's also going to help out Hug Life too. Trundle able to close the distance, quietly sitting here at 6-0 in this game, not taken down once. You've got that, you've got the Yunara, you've got, just all of these meta picks that have quite the diversity of gold in their favor. It's really going to be uphill, but the biggest strength, I think, for delaying this and for buying time is Mohawk on the Wukong. Those deals are very powerful. It's one of the best junglers to go for several different of these steals.
Yeah, and excuse me, I had to clear out my throat there. But you can see, Killer Fox is gonna find Indigo already into the Death Realm.
There it is. Death Realm is activated. But Indigo goes immediately over the wall. Mordekaiser having a hard time to follow up. That's going to be a powerful ultimate, no longer in the wheelhouse of the other end. But I still, even with that, I do not think top Goblins can contest this, and they really need to be honest.
Yeah, and they're just not going to be able to. We can see pings coming out on the top side from the side of TPO Mind Goblins. They're just going to try to get some gold into this Vex and getting that bounty for themselves as the rest of the team tries to defend the mid wave. But overall, yeah, you lose a dragon, but because you secured yourself 2 already in this game, it gives you so much time to scale up, and now Indigo might actually just be dead.
Indigo going to run into the 6-0 Trundle inside the jungle. However, there's going to be a lot of health regen back and forth. Pop Blossom, unfortunately, stopping the ultimate of the other end, just barely buying themselves a little time, but they're only going to find death instead as 2 go down in the jungle. We're looking for a gank on top lane as 1 goes down. Dark Fantasy, a little bit of trouble, going to pick up a kill there, and now they should be able to turn this into a 1v1. What a weird matchup, but 3 going down on the end of Goblins. Goblins really struggling in game number 2, Chong.
Yeah, and I just kind of think this is the beginning of the end here of game number 2. Mind Goblins, they still have an angle to get back into this game, but their comp is so far behind, and you kind of have the onus to get ahead in this game with both drafting the Vex and the Tom Kench. These champions from behind are kind of worthless. We'll see if Indigo is able to get tanky enough and at any point in this game is able to just survive everything that could come out of the side of Monkeys. But at this point, your game plan is give Kira everything. Give him mid waves, give him bot waves, give him top waves, give him jungle camps. Nobody else needs gold anymore. He needs to get 2-5 items to have any chance in this game.
And the big difference between the 2 jungles really is showing, despite the fact that CS is up on the end of Mohawk. Mohawk's been very happy to dish out the farm, but this Trundle is now 8-0. Hug Life doing so great in this, despite the fact they're being behind when it comes to sort of these ganks. Wukong has a bit of an easier time with the ganks overall, unless Trundle gets close and is able to close the distance and get that pillar down, which kind of locks you in place in a lot of different ways, but it really doesn't feel like it with the way Hug Life is playing.
Yeah, and I mean, Yunara now on 3 items, Barrett on the Rift. The side of Monkeys can take this so quickly with having both Yunara and the Trundle and even the Mordekaiser. They could just absolutely shred this. You can see how much control they have of vision. The side of TPO is going to either have to give this one up or look for the 50-50 coin flip. They know Colonel's claiming the vision, but they have no vision on the approach into this blue side jungle.
best bet is to try to get one of these clones in range, which is going to be hard to do as it looks like immediately Kaisa walks up and gets locked into the death realm. There's no escaping from this Mordekaiser now. It's just you and him going mano on mano. It should end sooner rather than later, but it just doesn't matter as the damage continues to get dished out. Nico going in, but it's going to be too little too late. Indigo is the only one to not go down in that skirmish.
Yeah, and this might just be the end of the game here. I mean, they're going to break the base at least and potentially look for more, but they can also just break the base, take the inhib, and then fall back to this Baron, go spend so much gold, take a dragon, and then push out your top and bot wave. But we'll see what they want to do. They are looking for the end here. You have 10 seconds on this Kaisa, and this Nico coming up relatively after with Mohawk as well.
This is a little bit dangerous to shoot for it, but they do have plenty of damage, and they definitely have the gold for it as one tower goes down. Indigo trying to buy a little bit of time for his team to get in there. The Kaisa is up. The full team is up. This is now the danger zone for Monkey Cyborgs as they're taking a good chunk of damage, but it's just not going to be enough as the focus comes in and they take down the Nexus, tying our score 1-1, which means we are moving into game number 3, baby.
Yeah, and it just kind of felt like the draft of TPO Mind Goblins did absolutely nothing. I'm not a big fan of that Vex pick or that Tom Kench pick. We can see why they aren't ideal picks in the meta right now. And you can see that the side of Monkeys just went for a full meta draft. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if you told me that on Sunday, this is a draft that T1 pulls out in one of their games, because it's just stock standard. Some of the strongest champs in the meta right now. And I think overall, Monkeys played it extremely well.
Absolutely. And, you know, like I said, subverting of those expectations can do a lot for changing up the meta, for mixing things up. I think even more so the lower and lower you are, when you run into those situations where you're just like, I've never really dealt with this, or I'm not familiar with this, or it's been a while since I've dealt with it, really can find that advantage. But unfortunately, it just was not going to happen there. Indigo just couldn't find an angle to go in there. Vex did initially look really good, but, you know, Oriana's so powerful for a lot of different reasons. But Chong, this does mean we're moving on to game number 3, and we're going to try to get a quick break out of the way. So make sure to grab yourself some refreshments and some drinks, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes.
涙よ星に瞬きを伝えて守るものがあるからきっと強くなれる
Alrighty, everybody, we're moving into the final game for the day. Match 3, score tied up 1-1, but we do have a little bit of a side change. Monkeys are now on the left hand, the blue side, and of course, goblins have taken the red side.
Yeah, I mean, it's always interesting watching what the priority is for like this type of elo on side selection, just because like everybody knows professional playing up, blue side's always the best, has the highest win rate. You know, you get the OP pick of whatever's left in that situation. But going red side does let you get the counter picks. The question is, are you actually able to use those counter picks effectively? Because like last game, the Oriana was picked early for monkeys, and then they counter picked the Vex, and that didn't work out so great. But it looks like we're just going for one of these strong junglers that are left. We're going with the Jarvan. Um, can be hit or miss if you're landing massive engagers. Champ looks good, but otherwise, if the champ falls behind, you kind of just get roasted the second you try to dive onto a backline and start a team fight for your team. So we're hovering Diana. I don't think this is going to be the lock in. I think you can just go like Poppy and feel fine about it. But Misfortune is going to be the lock with, or still hover. I mean, there's no Braum in the game.
It's not a
The
bad
only
blind.
yeah, the only supports you really got to be worried about coming out right now are the likes of like Leona, who can like stop you from that longer range, or even Bard. But I don't think Islamic plays Bard. I know Killer does, and I've yelled at him for it many a times. I'll shout him out because he was pestering me about it and asked if he did good. Mac Mittens, the support for Conduit Safari, who did, or sorry, not Conduit Safari, Monkey Safari, who did get a 2-0 tonight. He had a pretty decent Bard game. I'll give him that. I yelled at him for the wrong build choice, but he asked his AD carry what to build, and I said, don't listen to your AD carry. They're a dog. Build correctly.
And I do like the response here for the jungle, Diana. Even though she's not super insanely meta, she's been creeping her way back up there, and she's still very, very powerful. She's one of my favorites personally when it comes to jungling, just in general. I think she adds a different dynamic than really just so many other people. And compared with the Misfortune, it can pack quite the wall up into the other side. And looks like we're going to respond from Jarvan to Senna. Okay, haven't seen too much Senna. I think she's kind of fallen by the wayside. And it looks like this is going to be a Senna ADC into a Leona. This is still a decent combination. And if this is a comfort pick, it can definitely override the meta at this elo.
I mean, I do think this is a good lane into Misfortune specifically, just because she can use that super strong laning power that she has because of the Senna healing. But right now, my eyes are on this Diana pick. Like you said, this is a champion we do not see a lot. She got buffed a few patches back and just never really picked up in popularity. But
Breathing.
you think she had it? I coughed. I'm still dying. But you think she had a good clear speed before? Her clear speed is even more insane now because they buffed the damage that she actually does to minions with her passive, which is insane to think about. She was one of the fastest clearing junglers in the game, up there with like the likes of like Azaya. But like making her even faster, Jarvan's gonna look for early ganks. Diana's gonna look to power farm and get that level 6 before she ganks. But strong 2v2 in the bot side for TPO, neutralized by what monkeys have picked. Jarvan Diana, definitely going to be an interesting jungle matchup. We're getting a Yorick ban and a Brand ban. So the bans all staying relatively the same. The only thing that was dropped by TPO was Sivir, and they banned the Amumu instead. But Malphite getting banned, and now the Garen. So that means that Darius is being left up here in this game number 3.
Looks like we're going to be looking at the Galio, which kind of makes the brand pick or the brand ban make a lot less sense. I'm not a real big fan of brand when it comes to the mid laner. I'm more happy to see them in the support role or in the jungle role, which they're still decent at. But especially if your pick's going to be Galio, I feel like you would want to play into brand for a lot of different reasons. But either way, Galio is here for the pick. And I think this isn't a good combination here because normally the big sort of catch up for Galio, despite the fact of him being meta and having a really powerful kit, is he doesn't have an insane amount of damage, but Diana will definitely offset that. Diana has such a great and powerful kit, overall. And we're going to go from that into Sion. Okay, I've got to assume that this is going to be Sion mid.
That's Swain. Sion has already been
Swain.
picked this
Words
series.
are hard. I got the S part
and
right.
They're going to look... No.
Okay, we're looking at Kled. So
It was
this
so
is going to
good.
be...
It was so close to being perfect, Korak. They just pick the Cassante. But they pick Kled. The Suede pick, phenomenal. Because what does TPO want to do with this comp? They want to get on top of you and team fight. There's no way this is a real draft. What is happening here? That is a Kled Quinn top lane?
Gone back in time, Chong. We're getting Quinn top lane again. It's definitely a pick. I don't know what the plan is for this one. I don't see how Quinn's going to do well into Kled. Maybe the goal is to try to keep up with movement speed. I do like the Kled over the Quinn, at least when we're looking at team comp wise, because even though Cassante would have been really good here, just like you were saying, the important thing to sort of remember is Cassante can be a little bit awkward if you don't have the world's best hands. Kled, in my opinion, is a little bit easier to use, if not weird. And he does fit sort of this forward motion team that we've got here on just about everyone, sort of the press all the buttons. Not that Cassante doesn't do that, but I think maybe that's the thought process of, but I can't really come up with a thought process for the Quinn unless maybe they're like super godly at it or something. I don't know what the thought process is.
Yeah, unless Indigo is the shy, this Quinn is going to be absolutely useless. Like, if I play, when I get filled top lane, I play 2 champions. I play Malphite because I think he's fun, and I play Quinn because I think she's fun. And Quinn, you either go like 10-0 and hard carry a game, or you take one bad trade and you just do not get to play the game for the rest of it. You're just like in a side lane, catching waves, trying to do anything. I do not like this Quinn pick with this draft. I would have liked name any other top laner, and I think I would have liked it better. I think I would have like Singed better. I think I would have liked Heimerdinger better in this game.
Well, I'm a little biased when it comes to Heimerdinger, so I'm happy to see him in any role or any lane, and I'll fight anyone for that. But, you know, the thing that you can try to shoot for here on Quinn is you can go for those assassinations, you can go for those kills, and in the same sort of vein of like why Kane is good in, say, solo duo queue, or like, you know, Rengar is good in solo duo queue, is they're good at catching people out of position. They're good at catching people sort of unawares because there's not a massive amount of response time. But the thing is like, all of these teams are on comms. They should be communicating back and forward. And so far, their synergy and their response time and their execution has been absolutely on the point. So I just can't figure out how this Quinn fits into this equation. But I have been wrong, and you know I'm happy to be proven wrong by watching these games. Either way. We're going to get into spectator delay, so give us a few minutes as we roll into the break, and hopefully about 2 to 3 minutes or so. And finally, here at last, we are moving into game number 3 between Monkey Cyborgs and TPO Mind Goblins. Starting off with a little bit of a 5-man stack, but we're going to be sitting directly on top of a ward. We've already seen it coming. Dark Fantasy sussing it out. Shouldn't really turn into too much here, I can't imagine.
Well, that's so big. That's 2 stacks now on the Senna in this early game. But I mean, looking at everything else, we're pretty standard runes and summoner spell wise. We got no ignite top, which is like fine for Quinn. But if you like lose a trade super bad before you're level 6, that lane feels so bad to play out. So Indigo's gonna have to be careful until he gets at level 6, where he can kind of cheat recalls and fly back super fast thanks to Valor. But overall, I am really curious how this top lane plays out. I mean, Kled Quinn, not a matchup I expected to see in the big 2025.
Well, and sure, Quinn does have AA does have range on top of Kled, but Kled's kind of like fighting a fat guy. It's like sure, you might be able to tire him out, but as soon as he gets close to you, he's gonna wallop you. And Kled's very, very happy to do that and has a lot of health to sort of play that game out.
Yeah, and now Colonel going to get that snapback on the never move, which means he steals away some of those souls to get towards that bonus HP that you get as Swain when he lands certain abilities. Believe it's like only the W and E. I don't remember if Q siphons souls as well, but overall, the Sun and Leona actually having lane prio is something I didn't expect into a Misfortune Rel. So definitely an interesting early game so far. Also, Indigo has a CS advantage up in top lane as well. It's definitely a weird early game, not exactly expecting how ours go based on where I thought these powers were for these lanes.
Well, and speaking of sort of weird lanes, I'm not sure how this matchup is supposed to go. We are starting a little bit of engagement over here as the root after root do come in. T-Girl top taking quite the hammer and going out about half HP, but it's the exact same for the Leona. Leona sitting at level 2 is going to be a lot more deadly in that one. But going back to the Swain and the Galio, I feel like maybe their goal is to just sort of get out of lane instead, especially with that Heroics entrance. However, Galio going to turn into a little bit of knock-up and a taunt. So showing some of the capabilities that they have into Swain. And the thing is, Swain's damage isn't super, super insanely massive. So, maybe that's kind of the advantage for Galio.
I mean, that bot lane trade by T-Girl and by Cora was really good because a lot of damage went onto both Senna and Misfortune. The Senna already having to use that health pot, but also Indigo up in this top lane is playing this matchup really well. He already is very close to getting that dismount out of Killer Fox. And he's also doing a really good job of making sure he gets those autos through on those marks like we see right there. They do so much damage, and you can stack them up really quickly if you're good at it. And he should be maxing W here, just because when you do proc one of those marks, you get so much attack speed that you can actually really hardly win out these trades. Like, I like how Indigo is playing this matchup up in the top lane so far. Also playing on the edge of turret range every time he goes for one of those autos, but going to get a ward down. There's a chance he might have extended too far.
Thug Life looking for the flag and drag. It is going to be good. We get at least a small knockup, so that should give a small advantage to Killer. Killer flashes forward, forcing the flash for Indigo as they make their way out, placing double ward inside of the tri-bush, and that's going to be a powerful tool no longer in Indigo's tool shed.
Yeah, and this is kind of what I was talking about in this matchup, because now Indigo's going to be on the back foot. The remount is almost here for Killer Fox. Indigo just trying to get as much poke as possible before this. Got the phase rush, and the remount is there. Luckily, Mohawk is hovering to match Hug Life as well up here in this top lane, not wanting their top lane to fall down this early. But also, look at the CS discrepancy in the jungle already in this game.
28-37, definitely like you were talking about in draft. It looks like Diana's perfectly happy to try to fight for that level 6 as Leona goes in, trying to lock down the MF, the exhaust coming in. Dark Fantasy having a hard time getting in there, but they should have plenty of movement speed as we're looking for the damage, the flash, the double flash on the other side, locking them down. Leona comes in, picking up first blood for their end, and now they're not over just quite yet, going for that Rel, but somehow Rel just barely able to escape with a sliver of HP in the bot lane.
Yeah, that was a really good engage there by Islamic, but now
Oh,
Mohawk's here and
Mohawk.
he's gonna get the snipe there onto Dark Frenzy. Really well played by Mohawk on the backup to get something out of that play, but really good engage by Islamic Samurai on to Korra there. Burns both the barrier and the flash, and the exhaust is so powerful into the misfortune in the early game because she is so auto attack reliant and ability reliant that if your damage is neutered in any way, you kind of just lose out on trades. And it was also a really nice sidestep on the Shattering Strike from T Girl top there by Dark Frenzy, but now ult in the top lane.
Fled, looking for an angle. Unfortunately, not able to hit Indigo where he needs to, but he is going to be able to cut off at least a little bit of their retreat as we have closed the distance. However, that blind is very, very powerful, and we're getting so close to level 6 on that Quinn. Lots of trading back and forward. Both sides have been able to keep up pretty well on CS, and now Mohawk a tiny bit ahead in gold because picking up that kill is going to be super important as it looks like MF steps up a little bit too close. However, Dark Frenzy is in not enough range in order to follow it up, so having a harder time dealing with that. We are starting to fight over the Drake. A flag and drag should happen over the wall as Indigo and Killer Fox continue to duke it out in the top lane, going for maybe a little bit of a dive as Indigo Fox gets so close to going down, but ultimately does stay alive. Rel going in, Hug Life able to do a good chunk of damage here on the side of Diana. Diana try to use those plants to keep themselves alive, going over the wall, but got to run directly into Swain. Where are their reinforcements? Where is his bot lane as Swain picks up a kill for his team?
Yeah, and Indigo's still up here in the top lane. This can be very scary. Gets hit by that Q. If their Q2 comes through, Killer might have the kill, but just not quite enough. And Mohawk just didn't respect the prio that Steve had. Ooh, nice interrupt.
Flag and drag not quite working the way they want it to, but they did interrupt the knockup, trying to buy themselves a little bit of time, but it shouldn't take out Galio. That it's got quite the beefcake in order to take down. Really unfortunate, though, Mohawk losing the Drake, losing the objective. I feel like we had plenty of time for MF to rotate over and Rel to rotate over. They had the fight inside their jungle as mid continues to duke it out over here. We are going after this Galio as the flash comes in, but will it be enough? No, it will not. At this point, though, Galio just needs to get out, but he stays just too long, and now the Feats of Warfare picked on the other side. However, Indigo looking for a little bit of blood, trying to lock down this Swain. Swain taking so much damage. One more shot, too, as the root comes in the other side. So does the Solar, locking down the Rel, taking them out as MF struggles to dig deep and find the damage. A lot of back and forward. Was 4-0, but now we're sitting at 4-2 in game number 3, Chong.
Yeah, and now there's going to be a play on these grubs. Mohawk has no flash.
Ooh, pretty good ultimate there on Mohawk, trying to pull them in as Jarvan goes out and then immediately back in with the Cataclysm. Quinn trying to find the damage, but having a hard time locking down Hug Life as Senna pops an ult across the map, saving her team, keeping them alive, and now MF might be in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, just really well played there by Killer Fox and Hug Life in that 2v2. Also, Dark Frenzy with a nice use of that Senate ultimate made sure Hug Life didn't fall, made Indigo overextend for it and then fall down. I mean,
over the wall.
I think that's it. Yeah,
I was expecting more there. I don't know what it was. I felt like both of our brains were buffering on that one. But that was not a level 6 rel, so I think it's probably better that they didn't go engage. However, getting in right now would be super great. T-Girl just barely missing the ADC, giving time for them to back off and reset, which is going to be pretty important. The negative thing for Monkey Cyborgs is that Leona has 2 kills, but the rest of the team has the majority of the 4 kills. Would have been nice for Senna to pick those up, but I think it's better to secure. Not sure what the plan was with that Solar, though.
I think they just cancel the recall because Dark Frenzy is already coming back, and now Kira is going to be delayed. Might get delayed again.
Ooh, Leona going back in. Okay, so I'm starting to see it. Islamic is going to take a lot of damage, but this is a very low mana MF, and she's going to boost so much of this wave and hopefully get some plates here for Senna, find some sort of advantage. Not the worst thing, as Killer now once again trying to lock down Indigo. He does miss the tether, unfortunately for him, and Quinn's got to be loving this. You've got to play with that bush just a little bit more, Killer, in order to keep it up. Quinn does get rid of that small advantage. The tether is almost good. Man, so close.
Yeah, and I mean, we're starting to see some of the issues here with TPO's draft. Oh no, Q goes wide. But some good trade back by Indigo.
I've got to say, I did not expect Indigo to do this well on Quinn, but once again, right about this level, meta can be beaten by comfort for a lot of different reasons, and it does seem like Indigo is very, very comfortable on this. Even pick up a shutdown on that Swain in mid lane, so they're not out of this game just yet.
Yeah, getting a lot of damage on the killer here as well. But I mean, we're starting to see the issue here with the bot lane for TPO, where they kind of just do no damage into both this Leona and the Senna, just because of how tanky the Leona is already on those plated steel caps, and the use of the Eclipse is so strong. And then also all the healing that comes out from Dark Frenzy. But now T-Girl's behind them.
Are looking for a little bit of an engagement, but I can't imagine too much is going to happen here, except in the top lane as Diana tries to lock down Killer Fox, but it's just not going to be enough. Mid laners continuing to duke it out. Hug Life here once again for another gank, but they do get spotted by the ward. About 50 seconds or so on the clock for the next up-and-coming Drake, and it looks like Void Grubs have fallen. We split a little bit, mostly going to Monkey Cyborgs. Mohawk trying to close the distance on Killer, able to do a good chunk of damage. Indigo doing the exact same thing. The Ignite's going to come down, and that's going to be a shutdown on the Kled. Flag and Drag on the other side of the map, trying to lock down the Rel, but it's just not going to be enough. Rel is very, very slippery, especially when there's a wall right next to them.
I was about to sing Killer Fox's praises, but then he overstays trying to get the cancel on the Mohawk and falls down up there in the top lane. Indigo getting another shutdown for themselves, going for one of the Hydra items. I'm not sure which one they'll be going for first. Potentially that Profane Hydra that was buffed. Just T-Girl popped ultimate.
Coming in, followed by the Solar, but it looks like Indigo has rotated, so has Swain. The number advantage is on Monkeys. We got to watch out for there's a lot of back and forth as we dive underneath her. The bullet time has been activated by MF, but this is a lot of low health bars on each side. Galio coming in with that heroic insurance. This is going to be a full team fight. Everybody absolutely duking it out, trying to find some sort of advantage. Galio going back in, looking for the knock-up. Taunt should be close as Swain tries to hunt down the rest of the team. Rel buying a little bit more time, locking him down underneath tower. A lot of damage back and forward going. Trying it is, getting the knock up there on the Zalamic Samurai as God goes around on the other side, but it's just too little too late. Diana looking for the kill. However, Dark Frenzy's going to turn the tide for their team, getting kill after kill, leaving only one here to pick up the pieces. MF is in danger and is ultimately going to go down to Dark Frenzy. Indigo looking for a little bit more blood. Can Dark Frenzy lock him down? That root's definitely going to be helpful as Indigo walks up immediately into their death. One or two more shots, but they do not find it because T-Girl keeps Indigo alive, but barely.
Yeah, and a big thing that happened in that dive is T-Girl accidentally popped the Magnet Storm, like just completely on accident. I was very surprised to see that, and that just means it's a free dive for the Monkey Cyborgs. They don't take a lot of damage at this point in the game, and with Misfortune going Collector first item, it's going to be even less. I think I just would have liked to see the traditional Bloodthirster into IE build, not going for this Execute build, because the side of Monkeys is pretty tanky, and then Senna is just going to be constantly healing them throughout these entire team fights. So not a big fan of that build. It was looking good for a couple moments there for TPO, but maybe just overplayed their hand. We saw how low Cura was when his team re-engaged, so not really able to help out with that one, but now it's starting to look good for Monkeys, and TPO finds themselves in a rough spot.
Mohawk looking for another gank now in the bot lane. Indigo trying to keep things going, trying to keep things alive in the top lane, but ultimately does have to reset. Killer Fox definitely can close the range sooner rather than later. And it looks like we're going to get Autocon in the bot lane as Shelly should be spawning in about a minute or so.
Yeah, and we'll see what the priority is here for the side of TPO, because they already lost out on feats, I believe, and looking at boots, yes, they did. So the first 3 kills did go over to Monkeys, and then 3 objectives already went over, and now first turret all for Killer Fox, and now Indigo might fall down, but luckily gets away from that one. But, I mean, if you're the side of TPO, do you contest for this Rift Turtle?
Looks like Galio going and able to get a knock up into the taunt. This is Indigo's moment, but can he duke it out with the damage? The Ignite comes in, but we actually get a 1-for-1 trade in the top lane as bot lane just barely escapes a gank of their own.
Yeah, and that's a huge play for Killer Fox, and the 1v2 goes 1 for 1. A nice use of the empowered W auto attack. So in
Ooh.
goes T-Girl.
The root coming in, as well as the bullet time locking down Dark Fantasy. So much stun, so many CCs, and a lot of damage are indeed going to take down Dark Frenzy, who stepped just a little bit too close, and that actually went from T-Girl's mistake into T-Girl's play. What a nice transition right there.
Yeah, and I mean, that was a good play. If you CC down this Senna, she can't heal anybody up, even though the Solar Flare came out and stopped it. Oh, a lot of damage going to be going on to Mohawk.
There it is. We're going to get the Ignite at least. So we do have that as the heroic entrance comes in. Swain activating his ultimate. Flag and Drag should be up here in a couple of seconds to try to lock them down. Indigo in a little bit dangerous. The Cataclysm comes in, locks him down, and picks up a kill. But it's actually Senna sniping it from across the map, and that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, no, that's not bad at all, because you get the Herald, you get out, you get the Galio ultimate, and you get another kill onto your Senna. Now you can pressure down this mid tier 1, get 2 open tier 1s for yourselves here, because Galio doesn't really have wave clear against this, and there's very little help coming to him right now. So they're even going to look for a charge into tier 2 right now.
Shelly going in, able to knock at the door just a little bit. Hug Life should have plenty of time to get out of here. However, Galio going in, trying to lock down Swain. Swain's kind of happy with it. However, we're going to turn this with the root on root back and forward. Islamic Samurai wants an angle to get in here, but most importantly, I think Monkeys needs to not try and not take this assault. They got what they wanted. They got the tower, and they got Shelly to crash twice as Galio does get caught. Still, a lot of health on this creature to sort of deal with the taunt. Unfortunately, is not going to be good, as the poke is much better on the other side, and now the T2 in mid lane is in a little bit of danger. Mohawk going over the wall, looking for the damage, but only going to pick up a root, flashing directly into the other side. Solar locking them down even more so as Leona goes in for the tower dive, able to do a good chunk of damage, buy themselves a little bit of time. MF ultimately picking up a kill on the other end as Rel buying time for her ADC to dish it out to keep herself alive, as we still have 3 here knocking at the door of mid lane.
Yeah, and I think that's just a good passive play of knowing their limits there by the side of Monkey Cyborgs. They're able to get the mid lane tier 1 with the Herald, charge it into tier 2 the whole time. It is 5v4. Killer Fox is just pushing in the bot lane. He gets a tier 1 turret for himself and then finds a good angle for that charge and gets into the team fight. Is able to take up the turret for so long in jungle aggro because of the way the Scarl works. When you get dismounted, you have those few invulnerability frames. So able to just take up the turret, go invulnerable, not be under any real threat. And a big thing is Mohawk flashing back into his team with that Senna's last embrace, rooting up 4 people into Islamic Solar Flare was such a massive turning point in that team fight.
Gold now sitting at 33.7k to 29.2, 16 to 10. A lot of back and forth, but still favoring objective-wise and kill-wise Monkeys. We are looking for a gank here to try to lock down Killer as Mohawk goes in. The Ignite comes down. A little bit of damage here for MF. Does manage to get themselves a kill, but the Drake is going to fall on the other side. However, this isn't the worst play. At this point, it's so hard for TPO to contest these objectives, so they may as well try to get what they can, crack these turrets in top, maybe get a second turret, but somebody's going to have to back in order to help with these defenses, because there's plenty of people here on the push on the other end.
Yeah, and it looks like all of TPO is just going to be taking a reset here. Mohawk's just going to take this crown, then probably reset for himself. But like you said, it's not a bad play by the side of TPO. You get a bounty on the tier 1 turret. You get a kill onto your misfortune by killing that Kled. Luckily, Galio has some wave clear now with that Hollowed Radiance being purchased up here, and just the power of the raw stats of that Q. So saves bottom tier 2 for themselves. So overall, you just have to fight this next dragon from TPO. You can be happy with that passage of play that just went down.
Absolutely, getting so close to that objective. About 4 minutes on the clock until it does spawn, in about 5 minutes for the up and coming Baron, which means we're going to enter a little bit of an awkward phase just kind of across the map as Indigo and Killer continue to duke it out. However, MF walking a little bit too close to what they thought was that as the heroic entrance comes in, trying to buy themselves a little time. Redemption coming down, but we're not going to take it. We're instead going to get picked up by the kill of Senna. Dark Frenzy once again making another snipe from across the map as T-Girl Girl in a little bit of trouble. The roots and the stuns are getting layered back and forward, and this should be another 2 kills on the side of Monkey Cyborg's. Got to be feeling happy with those engagements.
Yeah, and
no.
Killer Fox almost gets the solo there. Flash has to be used by Indigo. But wait, he could fall down.
Islamic
He's
Samurai.
got the
Oh, I felt it. It was coming.
He had the empowered recall from the symbiotic souls. So if it was a regular recall, he does die there. But because it's empowered, he's fine. As you're gonna walk past Islamic and pick up the red buff. That's actually kind of funny.
Indigo doing a little bit of damage here to Islamic. This is a tank, but it should still die. I'm not sure why Islamic Samurai is here. Where is the rest of your team? If you're going to do some warding, you need a little bit of a backup, but somehow they actually managed to make it out. Okay, I mean, I guess it is Leona, and we do have tank, but that's going to turn into an autocon for Monkey Cyborg. So spending so much time, I guess it worked out in the long run.
Yeah, TPO had no idea that Monkeys was on that autocon. They could have chased the Leona and gotten the kill there, but the fear of the rotation from the enemy team makes them fall off that play. And they just ended up losing the autocon. So Monkey's doing a really good job in this game. They have about 2 minutes and 20 seconds until their soul does spawn. Going to be a Chemtech soul, which surprisingly good with the comp that they drafted with the Swain and the Kled and even the Jarvan and Senna heals can be very potent in these team fights.
We are going to lock down Indigo as they pick up stun after stun into Root, and Dark Frenzy picking up their 8th kill at almost 22 minutes. Things are not looking great for TPO. They don't have the kills. They don't have the objectives, but if they can just buy themselves a little bit of time, maybe get a tempo, maybe pick someone off, this can turn around quickly, but they need those opportunities. Looking for one. It looks like Galley is going to go in, getting the taunt there, trying to lock down the Swain, and we're going to follow it up there with a good ultimate for the other end. As Diana goes in, the bullet time going to get activated. The Solar coming in, stopping the bullet time, absolutely locking them down as Rel tries to buy time for her team. Islamic Samurai going in, a lot of back and forward. Swain getting isolated and taken out. However, Hug going for Mohawk. Jungle versus Jungle, taking each other out. The Flag and Drag, unfortunately, is not going to be good as Diana falls to pieces. And now we're doing a little bit of tire dive as Cam goes under the tower, absolutely taking down people left and right. And looks like this is going to be an ace and the end of game number 3. Chong falling in the favor of Monkey Cyborgs.
And the cook ends up coming out burnt with this draft for TPO Mind Goblins. I think they tried too many cute or silly things in this game 2 and game 3 draft that just ends up biting them. And like, T-Girl's just doing everything she can. She's like, I gotta try to clear this wave to give us a shot to defend when everybody is back up, but just not able to do it. You have Kira up in 2 seconds there, so T-Girl actually saves the game.
Okay, so another great play there from T-Girl, and I think that's something important to remember from the support role is so many people are afraid to sacrifice these supports in order to get an objective or to deny an objective. And, you know, I think in 99% of the cases, you should be sacrificing the support. Supports are powerful, but they're also kind of like pawns in chess. If you can use them to stop or get an objective, you should definitely do it. And T-Girl has been doing that time and time again.
Yeah, and I mean, people debate that the pawn is the most powerful piece in chess because you manage to get it across the board somehow, it can transform. So maybe if T-Girl ends up getting across this rift, this game can transform into a the Chemtech soul is on the list here, and it's going to be fought over.
It sounds like my partner is losing a little bit of the internet battle as Monkey goes for their soul point over here on the bottom, and I can't imagine TPO is going to contest this. This is quite the staggering difference in kills, and losing this has really got to sting. Soul going over to the other side. Chong, are you back in the world of the living with us?
I am. I'm very confused at what happened there. We had no issues until that exact moment, but now with the Chemtech Soul, I'm pretty sure Monkeys is just going to look to end this game 3. We can see Indigo trying to recall here. I think it has to be on T-Girl to find a massive flank engage in this upcoming team fight and the damage to be done by Misfortune. But once again, these 80 carries really not respecting the CC that can come out from enemy teams. We don't have cleanse again on Kira. So if Kira gets caught out, they are just going to fall instantly in one of these fights that we've seen many, many times before in this game. And we'll see they're starting up the siege without Baron. Senna has so much range at this point. I'm curious if we can get a Senna stack counter Loki, when you get the chance.
Well, and something I want to point out here is monkeys have done a great job of layering their abilities, layering their CC, and turning it into a lot of different effects. We've seen plenty of times where Leona has sort of waited for her solar, and Swain's just sort of compounded on that, and there's been a lot of back and forth with the flag and drag. So they just had such a great performance there, and then the roots on Senna have just continued left and right. They seem to either follow, be sort of like the second punch of a lot of these different jabs, but we've entered the true sieging stage. I doubt at this point TPO can stop this. This objective should fall sooner rather than later, as it looks like a Cataclysm coming in. Unfortunately, it's going to be on T-Girl on the other end. Swain trying to buy a little bit of time for his team, as we do have Dark Fantasy able to do a good chunk of damage. Bullet time does happen, but it only makes themselves a target, as we're definitely able to do a bit of a tower dive. 4 go down, a double kill on the Swain, and this should be GG.
Yeah, and I mean, this Senna was such a smart draft decision by the side of Monkey Cyborgs. They are going to pick up their first series win here in BOL Platinum and look to continue on this momentum after having a rough game 1, but a really solid game number 2 and 3.
The upset comes in nicely for Monkey Cyborgs, having quite the dominant performance in the last 2/3 of the evening. But what a great match here. Looking at the damage, it looks like no real surprise there. Senna is at the top of the list, followed shortly behind Swain. That doesn't surprise me. Quinn being up there, but you know, that's kind of a back and forward, because that Quinn is 3 and 8, and while they have got up in damage, it's because they were, you know, there. So, but kind of phenomenal game there, Chong. I was not expecting it to go to third game.
Yeah, I kind of think TPO does need to go back to the drawing board with some of these drafts. I think like the idea for the draft in game 3 is good, but like you have no real consistent damage. It is all upfront burst, and the comp of Monkey Cyborgs just absolutely eats that and doesn't really fall down at any point during it. So maybe over indexed into that, but overall was a really good series. Like you said, I did not expect this to go to 3 games. I kind of was expecting TPO Mind Goblin to get a 2-0 tonight, the way they played last week, but Monkey Cyborgs finally on the board, and it looks like the role swap is working out so far.
And keep in mind, this is not the playoffs or the finals or anything like that. This is just a first couple of weeks inside this entire league. So we will see more of Monkeys. We will see more of TPO. And there's plenty of opportunities for TPO to come back in all of this. Either way, this is all we have for you, everyone. That's our third game. I have been your host for the evening, Korak. He has been Chong. We have had Loki on production. And most importantly, this has been Blue Water Esports.